should hate each other? Whatever happened to love one another? Remember 9/11 when we all stood side by side? Americans, not enemies, a country full of pride. They try to force us into boxes, you're either blue or you are red. Instead of digging in, let's find some common ground instead. One thing that I know to be true, patriots come in red and blue. And blue. Just because we don't agree, don't mean we should hate each other. Whatever happened to love one another? Remember 9/11 when we all stood side by side? Americans, not enemies, a country full of pride. They try to force us into boxes, you're either blue or you are red. Instead of digging in, let's find some common ground instead. One thing that I know to be true, patriots come in red and blue. Yeah, blue. Just because we don't agree, don't mean that we should hate each other. Whatever happened to love one another?
Are you or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing Independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, independence allows for constructive critical thinking.
I used to hear people on the news say things like,
Donald Trump and the movement he has encouraged are a threat to democracy.
and I instantly believed it. With independence, I now realize the media is run by the Democrat elite, who are a corrupt oligarchy that censors free speech, silences political opponents, supports forever wars, and abandons democracy by anointing its candidates.
Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior, and love of democracy.
Never late, he gon' stand by what he claimed. Lived enough life to say,
I heard your heart, I see your pain. Out in the dark, out in the rain. Feel so alone, feel so afraid. I heard you pray in Jesus' name. It may be midnight or midday. It's never early, never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way, round in the corner. Help is on the way, coming for you. Help is on the way, yeah, yeah. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way. Sometimes it's days, sometimes it's years. Some face a lifetime of falling tears. But he's in the darkness, he's in the cold. Just like the morning, he always shows. It may be midnight or midday. It's never early, never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way, round in the corner. Help is on the way, coming for you. Help is on the way, yeah, yeah. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way.
Father knows.
Well, my friends, this is the Macil Duncan Show. We are kicking off here just a few minutes before the 3 o'clock official radio kick. Hope you guys are having a good day. As we're getting ready, those of you on Rumble and X, Locals, and the others, we are live. Facebook, if you are switching over from Facebook, Facebook is doing its thing again, trying to block the show. But that's okay. We are grateful now we have so many other options than Facebook. We got some things to talk about today. Masculinity. How many of you have seen our country kind of becoming more and more effeminate? We're going to talk about that today. And I've got a call in from a Marine, former Marine that is, Master Sergeant Bobby Parker will be calling in. He and his wife have 3 kids. 2 are boys. And he spoke at my church not too long ago, and I wanted him to share with you what he is planning on doing to raise up his sons to be masculine men of God. It's rather cool, their approach to life. And I think most of you will like it as well. As we get ready to roll, let's see. I've got the commercial about if you only had a brain here that I think is hilarious. Let's see. We got it. 222. Here it is. This is put on by the former Democrat VP Shannon that has joined Kennedy of walking away from the Democratic Party.
Let's have a laugh now with comic Nick Peterson. Here he talks about the benefits of having a brain and thinking.
I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart, and then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics.
Let's have a laugh now with comic Nick Peterson. Here he talks about the benefits of having a brain. And
So what did you think about that? I don't know, my friend. I think it's hilarious that these folks have walked away from the Democratic Party. And they're talking about Trump derangement syndrome, not having brains to think for yourself. I think they're speaking as folks that once were in that world of manipulation, and now they're trying to tell the folks, hey, you don't have to live in that world.
Thinking.
So that is my thing. Let's see. We are at the 3 o'clock hour here. As we're kicking off the show, this is Macil Duncan. Hey, my friends, this is Macil Duncan, and welcome to the show. I hope you guys are having a good day. Those of you watching online, I've got my Tennessee garb on because it's very rare this early in the season. Tennessee is considered one of the top 10 teams. Some polls have us as high as 4. One of the CBS guys have us at 4, and a Fox guy has us at 5. The AP Associated Press, the traditional poll folks go by, has us at number 7. Should be interesting, but as you guys know that love football, these first 3 or 4 weeks really, it's kind of fun to have the polls, but they really don't matter till about week 7 or 8. You've got to get some football games behind you, see if any injuries happen, those kind of things. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm definitely drinking the hopium, if any of you know what I'm talking about there, because Tennessee is looking very good this year. Not only do we have a great offense, but we have a great defense. It's been quite a while since we've had a defensive presence like we seem to have now. So I think a lot of folks are very excited about that. So anyway, we will talk more about that as we move on. As I mentioned in the prepper, if you didn't catch it, we have got Bobby Parker, former Marine Sergeant, who will be live in the third hour of the show. So if you're around at the 5 o'clock hour, he'll be calling in, because I'm going to be talking today about masculinity. A lot of folks don't realize how feminine, I guess you might say, our culture's gone. And some of you might, especially the guys. If you're a male 50 and over, I think you understand what I'm talking about when we say that the country seems to have had a demasculation, if you will. But I'll tell you a couple of thoughts I have on this. One, putting men in girls' sports has been majorly rejected by the populace. Majority of people think that is just not right. I think it was the perfect wave for Caitlin Clark. She came, her college career was peaking when the Budweiser and the Bud Lighting and all that stuff was taking place. So when she was peaking and having those wonderful moments, if you will, of college basketball, as she was breaking the all-time assist records, and then she ended up beating not just the men but the women, but the men's all-time scoring record. It just brought a lot of eyes, and for the first time ever, there were more viewers on television for the ladies' NCAA tournament than the guys. And the prices for the girls' tournament actually cost more than the guys. So that tells you that there was superstar power rising. I think Caitlin Clark just happened to catch the wave in that, yes, she's very likable. She's not controversial. She doesn't seem to go after her haters. But because many drink the hatery, Cheryl Swoops is the one that's the worst. But if you notice how Caitlin Clark handles her business, handles her game, the other thing Caitlin Clark has brought back, if you call it that, is feminine, okay? If you notice, her and her teammates wear nice outfits and designer outfits, dresses, very feminine look. Now, Taurasi and many of the older generation of the very loud and proud lesbians that like to dress more baggy and non-feminine, they're very upset with this, and they've even made statements. But the bottom line is, it's a new wave coming. I think I bring this up for a reason. I think it's going to affect the election. I think there's a lot of people that see the rise of the Caitlin Clark movement, if you will, as a way to defend femininity, as well as there's a rise of people wanting to distinguish that there's guys and girls. Bottom line, period. Okay? Folks want to try to say there are all these other nouns, pronouns, genders, etc. Hey, it's America. You can call yourself what you want. But when you were born, I have to tell you, you got one or two plumbings. You're a boy or a girl. You can try to be upset about that. You can get angry that I point that out to you. But the bottom line is, you're a guy or a girl. God didn't make Adam and Steve. He made Adam and Eve. It was very clear from the beginning. With that said, you've got a lot of confusion. And as I said, we'll talk about that at the 4 o'clock hour. For instance, the Boy Scouts have now become gender neutral. But, you know, the Girl Scouts didn't. Why was that? I mean, no offense, you had a club for girls. There was a club for guys. Why was there so much pressure to demasculine the one group for boys? They didn't put the pressure on the Girl Scouts to accept guys. See, there was a movement, and you'll not convince me otherwise, and I believe it's going to be part of the Achilles heels that takes down the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party tried to go gender neutral for whatever reason. It's probably part of a global agenda. Here's the deal. As I've told you before, this upcoming election is down to two views. You're either a nationalist or you're a globalist. Donald Trump's MAGA movement upsets the left so much because it says make America great again. They don't want America great. They want the globe great. When there's globalism control, see, it's very biblical. The book of Revelation is very clear. There will be an Antichrist. He will bring false hope, false peace, and unite the world for 7 years. There will be a time of folks thinking that, hey, we've somehow united. The first 3.5 will be somewhat pleasant, but the last 3.5, it says there'll be times they'll want the rocks to fall on them. If the days were not shortened, they would not survive. So somehow in those last 3.5 years, the days will be shortened, and it's going to be a very troublesome time. Now, I don't say that to scare you, but I do tell you that in the month of October at our church, I pastored Appleton Baptist, I'll be preaching on the World Series. Talking about, it's of course baseball World Series. I'll be using some baseball metaphors, but talking about how the world and some hot topics happening in our world. I'll be dealing with that in the month of October, and I'm going to let it bleed over into the radio show as well, just to be fair and to let you know what's coming. Well, as we get ready to rock and roll, I'm just curious if there's anyone out there that would like to call and leave a message of why you love the show or why you love America. You can call 629-282-1776. That's 629-282-1776. We'll be back after these messages.
WVMG Chattanooga.
My name's Doug Henshaw. I'm calling from northeast Tennessee, what they call the Tri-Cities area, Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City. I live in a little town called Elizabethton, and I listen to the Macil Duncan show, number one, because he approaches everything with a biblical worldview in mind, and by saying that, I mean he really seeks and researches to try to find the truth about a matter and the motivation of why people do what they do, and just seeks the truth. And his sources are very reliable sources that he depends upon, and he just gives us the world through the biblical lens of a biblical worldview. That's number one reason why I listen to the show. And I love America because of our founding and our freedoms that we share. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we need to really pray and fight for what we have, and to move back towards what makes us great as America, and that is our founding and what we believe in, a belief in God. And so I love the Patriot Pastor show, now the Macil Duncan show. I listen to it on a regular basis, and I pray for the show and pray for Brother Macil.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school,
math,
I learned that I'm ugly and useless.
Trash.
And in gym,
In biology,
I learned that I'm pathetic
that I'm fat
and a
and
joke.
stupid.
In history,
Today
I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends.
In biology,
In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes
in
me.
biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid.
In English,
And in math,
that I make people
I
sick.
learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today? The only thing I didn't learn today
The only thing I didn't learn is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how.
Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school,
In math,
I learned that I'm ugly and useless.
trash.
And in gym,
In biology,
I learned that I'm
I
pathetic
learned that I'm fat
and a
and
joke.
stupid.
In history,
Today
I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends.
In biology,
In English, I learned that I make people sick.
And in
And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell.
and in
In chemistry, I learned that no one likes
in
me.
biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid.
In English,
And in math,
that I make people
I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today,
The only thing I didn't learn today
The only thing I didn't learn is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
In the woods, just outside of town.
Oh, not surprising. You've got your home. Bears have theirs.
Yeah, but see, this wasn't just any bear. This bear was wearing jeans and a hat, as in Smokey Bear.
Jeans and a hat. That's definitely Smokey. What exactly did he have to say?
Well, we were about to head home, after having a bonfire.
Oh, I can guess where this is going.
Right. See, Smokey told me the fire wasn't actually out. He said if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
That's true. Did you know that 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans? That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Wow, no kidding?
I'm a forest ranger. We never kid.
Sorry.
that was a joke.
Oh.
Get your Smokey on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference, because 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back, my friends. This is the Macil Duncan Show, and we're broadcasting live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and appreciate you guys joining us. And, boy, we've got a great engineer team here at USA Heartbeat. Dave jumped on and got the Facebook era rocking and rolling. Thanks, my friend. Good company here. I'm very happy what God's doing here. Well, we've got a couple of things to talk about. And we've got an upcoming debate, and I think a lot of folks are interested. And just so you know, evidently, if the debate and the presidential election doesn't work out for Kamala, she's been offering a possible remake of an old TV show. Instead of Gilligan's Island, they're calling it Giggles Island.
Just sit right back as the Dems implode. The swing states Trump will flip. Now Kamala, the open port on Joe Biden's sinking ship. We all know that Big Mike's a man, and Obama we endured. Dementia Joe was forced away, one too many slurs. Now democracy secured. Primary started getting tough. Fake accent she whipped out. You know she lying when she starts to laugh. Democracy would be lost. We must win at all costs. The Democrats now confident, hoping you'll vote for insane. With giggling, the socialists too. Is she Indian, black or white? She's the border czar. Obama and Michelle the man. Here on Giggling Time.
Now, many of you probably know that tonight there is a debate, and Kamala is gone on the record. She is dealing as she's trying to come across from her California days as the prosecutor dealing with Donald Trump the felon.
Before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
So that is her desire, is to try to paint Trump as the bad guy, and she's the good guy, or the good girl, you might say, if you're allowed to use a gender analogy, if you will. And then you had Joe Biden when he said this at the debate, which he totally got defeated. But remember these comments when he tried to paint Donald Trump as the felon as well.
President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on.
So he said the only one on the stage is the convicted felon. And he says, I'm looking at him right now. Now, I think this is going to be their strategy. But the interesting thing is the polls are showing Donald Trump's having the surge right now. Even the New York Times had to admit. Well, there is a man of color who is African American. He's got a new song. See what you think.
Land of the free, land of the free. They say we're divided, but we all stand tall. I'm casting my vote. Hear freedom call. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. President Trump. Under Joe Biden, we've been singing the wrong song. My people have suffered, it's been way too long. It's time for a change. We're breaking free from the chains of their false history. We've got a voice and we're making it known. This is our America, we're taking it home. They promised us hope, but delivered despair. Under Democrats, it's been unfair. We're saving America with freedom in our hands. No more division, united we stand. Americans standing tall with pride. With Trump we rise side by side. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon.
So you got the gist of the song. So to see a guy in color talking about voting for the felon and leaving the Democratic Party became kind of a theme. Now, this song is over 2 months old. It's been out, and it's under the platform of Trump Latinos. If you want to go to Trump Latinos and check out all their songs, it's people of color doing music to express their support, one, for Donald Trump and their disgust for the Democrats. With it going into the debate tonight, I have a feeling that we're going to have a very emotional debate. I believe this is desperation for Kamala Harris. She knows if she loses the debate like Biden did, she's done. She is done. So expect, in my opinion, she's going to try to pull out as if she's in the courtroom dealing with a hostile witness, if you will. The giggler will become the yeller. I predict, even though she thinks she's going to push Donald Trump's button, I think the opposite will happen. See if you guys watch tonight and see if my prophecy is true. I think she's going to lose it. And I think she's going to lose it big because she wanted the microphones left on. You remember? And Trump just wouldn't agree to it. So they had to stick with the original agreement of the debate. And so she wanted to try to provoke him because sometimes Donald Trump doesn't know when to stop. But at times he does show immaculate control of his emotions. I think there's sometimes someone can coach him backstage. Maybe it's Melania. Many think it's the youngest Barron. Barron's been helping his father get on many of these podcasts of the young generation. And as you know right now, all the polls are showing the younger generation of men are very much switching to Trump and leaving the Democratic Party. You're having the African-American men leaving the Democratic Party. The one thing that the Democrats have a higher demographic in than Donald Trump is the female vote, the young female and the professional female. But the stay-at-home moms are leaning Trump, and the women without college degrees are leaning Trump. So this is their last-ditch effort with Kamala, because if she fails tonight, it's done. I think we all know that the last thing they have left is either a war that would pause the election or possibly maybe some monkeying with the ballots. Don't know. See what you think. But the recent poll that just came out Sunday showed Donald Trump ahead, even in the swing states. The other thing that was immaculate on Sunday to me that I didn't think would ever happen is Alan Dershowitz, the famous Democratic lawyer, super duper liberal, but he's super duper constitutional. Through the whole persecution of Donald Trump, he constantly warned his constituents were making him popular. When you beat on someone, there's a vibe in America. We feel sorry for the victim. And we do. When you victimize somebody, especially with the attacks that have proven to be false, the Russia, we found out later that the Steele report was paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. Of course, she's not in jail. Then we found out there was a gathering, if you will, of GOP and DNC in helping perform that. You had Mitt Romney. You had John McCain. I call John McShane thumbs down. You had a lot of the rhinos, Mitch McConnell. They were all involved in helping take down, if you will, Donald Trump, or at least attempting to, working with the FBI, James Comey. So that was a huge, you've got to ask yourself, why would they go after? There's two people, and some of you don't understand this, but I'm going to try to explain it to you. There's two people that they were very afraid of that got elected back in 2016. One was Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. If you remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene was a very pro-Second Amendment, and she was very much a Q follower. She believed in Q and quoted Q and promoted Q, and she got voted in. And before they even took their oath of office and sworn in, Nancy Pelosi stripped her of any serving on any committee. Does anyone remember that? So when Marjorie Taylor Greene served her first 2 years, she was only allowed to go to the General Assembly. She was not placed on any committees, and she was not, because the Speaker of the House deemed that. What was her crime? What did Marjorie Taylor Greene do to be given that kind of a sentence, if you will, of silence, of no information, not being allowed to serve? That's probably why you're seeing such a fired-up Marjorie Taylor Greene as you see today. She's very opinionated. She's very frustrated. Why? Because she knows what it's like to be stripped and being labeled before you even get started. They did the same to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, before he took office, he said, I believe that Trump Tower's being tapped and wired. Obama said, oh, that's ridiculous. We found out later they did. That's when he moved to Mar-a-Lago and also to up in Westminster, New Jersey. He started having his meetings there because Trump Tower had been compromised in such a way they couldn't find all the taps. So I say that to tell you there is going to be even a greater effort in 2024. If Donald Trump were to win the vote, and many these pollsters that have this weekend said he probably will win the popular vote. If the debate goes as they think tonight, Kamala's not only done, the Democrat Party is going to be done as well. And you got to go back and look at the Democratic Convention. Just that was just a few weeks ago. Try not to have a short. Please, they love to put dementia into your brain to where you don't remember. Don't forget, one, they took the president of the United States currently, Mr. Joe Biden, and they had him on Monday night. The first night of the convention is always the kiddie table. That's your up-and-comers. That's not your big speakers. Not only did they put Joe Biden on Monday night, he didn't take the stage till 11:28 p.m. Then they sent him off on vacation, and he's been on vacation ever since. And I shared with you yesterday, Axios and others have been reporting that he is now with the equivalent of the average workman. He's had 48 years worth of vacation in 4 years. He's been on vacation more days than he served as, if you want to call it, in office. Who's running the country? Okay, those same people that are running the country will be running Kamala Harris. Savvy? And there's a difference between Donald Trump and Kamala. What you're going to witness tonight is not just California versus New York. You're going to witness tonight a globalist view versus a national view. The globalist view, which is very global-minded, let's save the world. And let's think of all the things that have the world. The United Nations seem to love the Democratic Party. The World Health Organization. Think about that, World Health Organization. The World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab up in Davos. They love the Democratic Party, and they all hate Donald Trump. Why? Because Donald Trump stands for a thing called MAGA, Make America Great Again, meaning let's focus on nationalism. Let's worry about America. Let's worry about our cities, our roads, our situation. We don't mind helping the world, but we're not the world police. And Donald Trump wanted to withdraw troops that were unnecessarily placed around the world. We found out later that Silly the Millie and many others were involved in, if you will call it, a silent coup against Donald Trump. They did not obey his commands. Donald Trump went through 3 Secretary of States. Remember Rex Tillman? Right? And Rex, and then Mad Dog Mattis. And then he had to fire them both. And then he got Mike Pompeo, the senator from Kansas. But when he first became president, he put Mike Pompeo over the CIA. Then you take someone from the CIA and put him in the State Department. Now you know why Mike Pompeo right now is kind of messed up. Mike Pompeo, we thought, was the conservative Donald Trump supporter. And we're finding out now he's a part of the Rhino movement with Nikki Haley and Mitt Romney and the others. Or at least he was transformed into that. So as you're going into this election, the interesting thing that has swung the table is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. By him doing an official endorsement of Donald Trump, and then his vice president, Shanahan, as she has come on as well, they have brought down the House. Now, I want to play for you. This is a commercial that Shanahan and them have come up with. It's talking about your brain. And they're kind of making fun of the liberal just assumption that you'll believe anything you're told. See what you think.
Let's have a laugh now with comic Nick Peterson. Here he talks about the benefits of having a brain and thinking.
I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart, and then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics.
Let's have a laugh.
So you can go watch it for yourself, but the gist of it is having a brain, thinking for yourself, not allowing the mainstream media to dish and spoon feed you how you should think and how you should act. Now, as I've told you before, I see a switch coming. And you're thinking about, if I only had a brain, I don't know if you know this, but Joe Biden was brought into a studio, and he did do a small recording. I'll let you listen, because he thought about becoming a singer after being the president.
Have y'all seen the news? They just granted them migrants $150,000 on brand new houses, while us Americans are only getting these personal spending cards loaded with $5,800.
Here it is.
Oh, I'm a failure because I haven't got a brain.
Well, what would you do with a brain if you had one?
Do? Why, if I had a brain, I could
concentrate for hours, my presidential powers, to compensate Ukraine. For squashing my indictment, just imagine my excitement if I only had a brain. My son who's crack addicted, and I should be convicted for crimes we can't explain. To avoid repercussions, I could pin it on the Russians if I only had a brain. Oh, I, with the rise, inflation's on the rise. I'd admit we weaponized the FBI, and then I'd quit and run and hide. We stole the last election, there was no insurrection, the left has gone insane. I'd concede I'm a loser and Pelosi is a boozer if I only had a brain. I would not be just a pedo, an old perverted weirdo, a legacy of shame. Taking showers with my daughter, a molester underwater, if I only had a brain.
You guys send me the funniest songs. I just thought I'd tell you. But anyway, with that said, what we having brought before us is a chance to think. Tonight's going to be probably ABC's best record ever because, one, they're having Trump on it. But ABC and the dude that's moderating, they did a thing, and let's see, 96% of his comments on Kamala Harris have been positive, and 91% of his comments on Trump has been negative. Okay, that was an independent study. So the commentator tonight, I think you're going to see, they're going to attempt a 2-on-1. Kamala and the moderator trying to provoke Donald Trump and trying to make him look a misogynist, call him the felon, whatever they want to do, and make her look like the bold prosecutor, lady of justice. I don't think it's going to work. Could be wrong, but she's not proven yet to be very good with her words, for one, and she's not very good on her feet. If Donald Trump throws her a question or a comment, that she's not prepared, because they've also said no note cards and no teleprompters. That's a very big handicap for most Democrats because they go off scripts. They're told what to say and how to say it. When you take away the notes and the scripts, then you have to actually use your brain. That's not something that most Democrat in the D.C. area can do. And most of the media as well. If you watch most media, it's pretty much a printout of what they're supposed to say, how they're supposed to act, etc. So as you start thinking about this, Trump's best idea, unleashing Elon Musk on the government. We're going through a time, and I don't know if you've noticed it, it's very disturbing that they're looking at trying to have a lot of free speech censorship. Now, this was the incredible Ronald Reagan back in the day. See what you think of what he had to say about the government.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. So government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth.
Isn't that true? The government, the closest thing you're going to see to eternity on this earth is the government. So Donald Trump and Elon Musk both own, Trump owns True Social, Elon Musk owns X. They've already arrested the owner of Telegraph over in Europe. They're putting pressure on Elon Musk for his not supposedly monitoring his. And this is Kamala Harris and what she has to say about the responsibility of social media moguls, if you will, in 2019. And this was as they were starting to lose Twitter.
And will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism.
That's not a good start, but keep going.
We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platform, if you don't police your platforms, if you don't police your platforms, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
Who's we? Who's we, Kamala? We are going to hold you accountable as a community. Who's we? We, the American people, we have no authority. Who's the we? Listen to this again. She is a part of a censorship plan. Remember, they were going to call her the Minister of Truth, and it bombed. But the first 8 months of Biden's administration, they were going to make her the Minister of Truth, and Kamala was supposed to oversee social media and etc. But it never took off. They had to backtrack that. But check this out again. Listen to the woman because she'll be speaking tonight, and I hope this gets brought up.
Or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
We are going to hold you accountable. So is that why the globalist that she's a part of, has now arrested Telegraph owner? They're trying to give Elon Musk a hard time and X. Donald Trump and True Social, I'm not sure if any legalities have happened. I'm sure they're coming. Interesting. And then you have Mark Zuckerberg, who went on record in saying that the Biden-Harris administration forced him, those were his words, forced him to police anyone that went against the narrative during the COVID lockdowns, dealing with things such as ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, etc. So for Zuckerberg to say he was forced by the Biden-Harris administration, that's the we. That's the we. We are going to hold you, if you want to call it, in some kind of a political power. And so that's why I think what Donald Trump is proposing is amazing. Check this out.
York on September 5th.
I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms.
The former president wants Elon Musk to head up the commission. It's a very good idea and deserves more attention.
Now, this is the Washington Street Journal. Okay, so the Washington Journal is covering that Donald Trump is wanting to have Elon Musk basically do an audit of all the wasted funds in the federal government, including the media connections.
As the first order of business, this commission will develop an action plan to totally eliminate fraud and improper payments within 6 months.
In 6 months, try to eliminate improper payments and fraud. Listen to just a few of them.
This will save trillions of dollars, trillions.
He's saying trillions of dollars. And you may say, what is this trillions of dollars? Well, Social Security is one.
By fixing loopholes in programs that invite fraud.
Instead of the 87,000 IRS agents going after middle America,
Let's go after the hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID fraud that we know exist.
The government paid tens of billions of dollars in fraudulent unemployment benefits and paycheck protection grants during the pandemic.
Did you know there were people that were outside America that got money from our tax dollars because they were allowed to hack in and they applied and they got stimulus checks that weren't even living in our country? That's not by accident. You'll never convince me of that. Could that be one reason why they flooded to the border? They were given possibly finances to make their journey. Just a thought. But for Donald Trump to say, I would like to take Elon Musk and I would like to clean up our government, well, it's very ironic. Maybe that's why the we that Kamala Harris talked about is trying to go after Donald Trump and his allies, one being Elon Musk, the former Democrat, but also the richest man in the world. Maybe this is not going to be too good for the globalist.
Elon Musk has found a way to bypass a ban on his social media firm X in Brazil by allowing people in the country to access the app through his satellite internet provider, Starlink. Brazil's Supreme Court voted on Monday to uphold a ban on X that was introduced last week by Justice Alexandre de Moraes after the company failed to follow a court order to appoint a new legal representative in the country. Mr. Musk criticized the ruling, claiming that Judge Moraes was a dictator who should be impeached for violating freedom of speech. The new law forces internet service providers in the country to implement an immediate, complete and comprehensive ban of X or face legal and financial ramifications. Starlink, which is controlled by Mr. Musk's other company, SpaceX, has more than 250,000 customers in Brazil who access the broadband network through satellite receivers. Starlink has not complied with the court order, resulting in the network's bank accounts in Brazil being frozen.
So Donald Trump has a friend now, Elon Musk, and in case you didn't know this, Elon Musk not only owns X, which is former Twitter, he owns Tesla, which is producing some of the most modified, if you will, electric EV cars, but he also owns Starlink. What is Starlink? Well, it's this vast technological, by the way, he moved it from California. He's moved all of his stuff to Texas. And so they're losing a huge amount of money and revenue in taxes and employment and all that from California, where Kamala Harris is from. But with Elon Musk doing this, he has got 120 satellites right now around the globe. He was allowing, I don't know if he still is, the Ukraine to use some of his satellites for some of their activities, if you will, when the war first began. I bet that deal's off. I don't know. It's not been reported on. But with him having 120 satellites around, not to mention, in February, it seems like it will be his space group that's going to go up and rescue the astronauts that have been left in space. So interesting. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and not to mention the other part, if you want to call it the trilogy, is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a very likable Democrat. Back when he was running for president against Biden and Trump, he always scored higher in the likability category. He's very likable. He's not as confrontational as Trump, and you hear the term opposites attract. But the interesting thing is, since Kennedy has come out public and said, listen, I'm going to support Donald Trump, and gave an endorsement. Now, Elon Musk had already done it, and some other Democrats, well, then Tulsi Gabbard, you know who she is. Then Shanahan, who was the former wife of the Google owner. When they got divorced, she became a zillionaire. She gave $100 million this year alone to the DNC, and the DNC pissed her off, and she's walked away. Not good move, fellas. So you've got a lot of folks walking away. I mentioned earlier in the show Alan Dershowitz, professor, elite Democratic lawyer, walked away. So if you're having these folks walking away from the Democrats and labeling themselves either independents, which most of them are supporting Donald Trump. That is going to be a heavy swing towards the independent vote. Not to mention, the Jewish vote in this country tends to lean Democrat for whatever reason. With people like Dershowitz and others who have always aligned with the Democrats, they're seeing a huge love of Palestinian in the Democratic movement, which is pretty much, it's hard to pick. It's, you know, you pick the Palestinians as your new friend, you're losing the Jewish vote, the Jewish funds, and the Jewish involvement, which is a big hand in big cities like New York, L.A., Philadelphia, etc. So I say that to say, with that and the black vote, especially black males swinging Trump, Kamala's got a lot of pressure on her tonight. It's going to be very big, and it's going to be very much a lot of folks saying, hey, we want answers. Now, this is Forbes magazine. Now, this is Forbes himself talking about the EU threat, and Elon Musk is a terrifying sign of things to come.
That doesn't get enough attention. The rising price of free speech. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. When Elon Musk announced that he would have a live conversation with Donald Trump on X, formerly known as Twitter, the European Union's chief censor sent the intrepid entrepreneur a letter worthy of a gangster like the TV legend Tony Soprano. He warned Musk that if anything was said that the censor deemed misinformation or the dissemination of harmful content, then Musk and X would be subject to severe penalties. In fact, this censor, numerous officials like him, have been after Musk since he took control of Twitter several years ago and ripped away the veil of censorship Twitter had previously practiced. The censor in this case is a man called Thierry Breton, who has the title of the European Commissioner for Internal Market.
So then, with Forbes mentioning all these European folks going after Elon Musk on the thing of free speech, does it help you better understand, again, Kamala Harris saying we?
Profit off of hate. If you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, if you don't police your platforms, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable. Platforms, we are going to hold you. Platforms, we are going to hold you accountable.
Who's we? This is 2019, okay? I know she's saying me and Biden. Who's the we? We have found out now, as I mentioned earlier, in case you're just now joining us, that Biden has been on vacation. If you go by the norms of the average vacation of the average American worker, in these 4 years he's been president, he has been on vacation pretty much 48 times, okay? He is now the most, he's broken the record big time. He has been off the clock more than on the clock, if you will. He's had so many vacations. And since the Democratic convention, when they pretty much gave him the Heisman, he had to get out of the race. They had him speak on Monday night, the least important night, and at 11:28, they sent him, and he went on vacation. He's not been back. I mean, Joe Biden, where's Joe? Kamala's even been cited using Air Force One in some of her travels in some of these key states, not to mention, if she's got this big lead, why is she campaigning in blue states that they should have? Why is she campaigning so vigorously in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, etc., if she's got this big lead and she's so joyful and likable? It's because I believe it's not, the picture they're painting is just not accurate. Now, that's just me. Now, the only thing I'm going to say on this as we kind of wrap up this thing about the debate is I believe there's something going on that we're not being told about, and I believe there's a lot of mismanagement. Now, I told you how the FBI has been very curiously somehow involved in purging of New York. The mayor, Mayor Adams, has had his political advisor and other staff raided by the FBI. Hochul, we found out, had to fire a Chinese spy. The FBI has been involved in other things. Well, guess what just found out? Yes, the New York police commissioner faces pressures to resign because he just got raided by the FBI. What's going on in New York?
NYPD Commissioner Edward Cabin is facing mounting pressure to resign after the FBI raided his home last week and seized his cell phone. The federal investigation into the NYPD has expanded beyond individual misconduct. Law enforcement sources say the investigation centers on allegations of sweeping corruption and influence peddling at the highest levels of the department.
Hello! Does that mean he's been turning the other way? 75% of all crimes recently in New York have been made by illegal residents or legal aliens. Interesting.
Undermining public trust in the department's leadership. The probe has widened to include Cabin's twin brother, who's a former NYPD officer and is under scrutiny for allegedly acting as a fixer for troubled Manhattan nightclubs.
Ooh. So when they go get a little bit of the bow chicka bow bow, the police guy, commissioner's brother, is a fixer. That's not good.
At least 6 other high-ranking NYPD officials with connections to Mayor Adams have been implicated, with their homes raided and phones confiscated by federal agents. They include Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Philip Banks, First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, Banks' brother, David Banks, who serves as New York City's schools chancellor, and Timothy Pearson, an aide to Mayor Adams and a former NYPD official. The commissioner's ability to effectively lead the NYPD is being questioned, particularly given the necessity of federal cooperation in his role. Insiders from City Hall reveal that there's tremendous pressure on Cabin to resign and indicate his working relationship with federal authorities has become untenable due to the ongoing investigation, raising questions about his capacity to lead the NYPD effectively.
So, you've got the commissioner of the police, his brother, all these other people, and now they're connected back to Mayor Adams. Now, what is it that Mayor Adams did that was so egregious? If you remember, he's the first Democrat to criticize the Biden administration on the border crisis. And he even complained about all these people they were busing in New York. Remember that? And so the next thing you know, after he had a press conference saying that, all of a sudden the FBI comes in. There's a possibility, mind you, that these might very well all be very loyal, good people, and they're going against the narrative and they're being punished. I'm just saying. The way the FBI acts now, it's almost a badge of honor when they raid your house or treat you unkindly, because then people know, that must be a good person, because the FBI doesn't really go after bad people anymore. At least that's the appearance that some of us have. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens and how it comes out, because I believe in time everything comes to light. Sometimes we're not given the total light, if you will. But here's something else that's very disturbing about the upcoming election.
Today, not.
And this is, I'm sorry, they snuck in a Kamala Harris campaign pledge on my show. No, not happening.
More than 1/3 of top elections officials across the country have resigned or retired.
Hello! What did they just say? Let's listen to the fancy music and the schmancy reporting.
More than 1/3 of top elections officials. More than one third of top elections officials across the country have resigned or retired.
Wow. 1/3 of top, they didn't say election, top election officials have retired or resigned. This is one of two things, well, possibly three. One, there's possibly something in the works that's going to make the election fair, because if you're a top election official in this country right now, you're probably not the most honest person. Savvy? Secondly, what could possibly be happening is they see there's going to be some violence or some moves, and they just don't want to be part of it. Because people are getting so angry, and they dox people now, and they turn on you. Or third, and I know this is something that there's a lot of the Q people might be right. What you might be witnessing is a cleaning up of the government, because you heard what Trump said I played earlier. In 6 months, he wants to see the government cleaned up. He used to call that draining the swamp. Just saying. But for 1/3 of top election officials to either retire or resign right before a presidential election, does anybody else find that a little bit odd? Let's listen to more to Kara Rucker.
Since the 2020 presidential election, that's according to a CBS News investigation. This unprecedented turnover rate, the highest in over 2 decades, raises significant concerns about potential impacts as we approach the next major election in November.
So this is the highest in decades. So who's taking over the elections? Is this a sign of the machines? Is this a bigger government reach? It may not be good news, okay, friend? It could be bad news. That's the reason that you and I need to show up and vote. Now, I've given you my, I get some blowback. I'm not a big fan of early voting. If you're sick, if you have special, yes, but if you are a healthy human being, stand in line, meet your neighbor, make a party out of it, and vote and show this country that you care. Stand in line, show up and vote on election day. And if they say they're out of ballot or something, you say, I'm not leaving until I vote. I'm not doing a provisional ballot. Go down to Staples or to Kinko's, get some freaking paper, and get me my ballot. Don't be a pushover. This is your country. If you're a liberal, if you're a independent, if you're a Democrat or a Republican or conservative, you need to have your vote count. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't be a part of any shenanigans. Don't be a part of filling out votes for others. Don't cheat. Just be fair. I believe if we had the belief, if Americans thought their vote was counted and things were fair, we would have a greater turnout. But see, they don't want that. Since Reagan ran back in the 80s, the voter turnout then was 38% of the electorate. And it wavered between 38 to 40%, if you will, up till 2016. There was a guy from New York coming down an escalator that ignited a part of America that had never voted before. And he won basically because he made people believe this country was worth saving. And there was a huge uptick. Close to 50% of America voted in the 2016 election. Then in the 2020 election, due to COVID and the confusion, etc., over 40 million Christians didn't vote that could have voted. 40 million Christians sat on their butts and didn't even pick up a ballot. That's sad. I'll be back after the break.
Well, hey, this is Greg Lane. I live in Hickson, Tennessee, and I just want to tell you how much I enjoy the Macil Duncan radio show. Man, I like to listen to it because he talks facts. I love the guy because he loves Jesus, and, it's where I go to find out information what's going on in the world. But just awesome. I'm glad you guys have him on there, and just keep on keeping on. We love Macil Duncan. This is Greg Lane from Hickson, Tennessee.
WVMG Chattanooga.
Thank you, and we're back. You know, when it comes to fighting crime, he's never going to roll over. He's McGruff the crime dog.
Roll over. You're okay, Joy.
Thanks.
And I got 2 words to make your neighborhood safer.
Uh-huh.
Coffee cake.
Ah, the old poison coffee cake trick. The cook takes a bite, falls down to the ground.
Oh, it's for your neighbors.
You want to poison your neighbors?
No, never.
Oh, thank goodness.
No, for 25 years, I've been giving tips about preventing crime. One of them is to invite people over for a cup of coffee and share the problems you see on your street and what to do about them.
That's great.
You can invite your local police officer to help, too.
You know, I hear they're very fond of donuts.
No, that's just a myth.
Oh, well, I'd come to your doghouse for coffee cake in a safer neighborhood.
Now you're talking. You can cut down on crime by not just locking your door, but opening up to your neighbors.
Still, a 10-pound bundt cake dropped on a bad guy's foot could help.
It couldn't hurt. And going to weprevent.org for other tips could help, too.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, Crime Prevention Coalition of America, the National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Okay, everybody, it's time for another game of Who Wants to Volunteer in Your Community? Let's go to Ella in Santa Monica, California.
Hey, wait, I don't want to volunteer.
Well, I have a feeling you'll change your mind when you realize how much fun volunteering really can be. In fact, Ella, we've asked your entire algebra class here to tell you more.
Wait, you did what?
Take it away, class.
Hey, Ella, we've been noticing you lately in algebra class.
You have?
I'm feeling some love here.
Yeah, and we were thinking that you should start tutoring people because you're all like smart and stuff. I should?
You free tonight?
Go for it.
I should.
They love you, Ella. Well, sounds like we have another happy volunteer.
That's me.
To find out ways you can volunteer in your community, log on to teensvolunteer.org and join us next time for another episode of Who Wants to Volunteer in Your Community? Do what you like to do. Volunteer. A public service message brought to you by the USA Freedom Corps, the U.S. Department of Justice, the Crime Prevention Coalition of America, and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese.
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Carolina you guys sent me. I wish we all could leave California using the Beach Boy parody. You can go to Babylonian Bee. They're the ones that did the song. It's a little longer than that. Only played the first 2 minutes. But you get the gist. A lot of musical parodies out there conveying messages. And I told you about the Trump Latinos. And we're going to get to dealing with masculinity here in just a second. But if you missed the beginning of the show, we talked, in case you under a rock, that tonight something big's happening.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump will be facing off in Philadelphia tonight. They're going to be debating at a pivotal time with just weeks to go until the election and polls showing a tight race. Rebecca Castor has more.
All eyes here on the city of brotherly love tonight, but that is likely not going to be the sentiment we see between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
It's the most unusual election preseason that I've ever seen.
The presidential race could come down to 90 minutes tonight when the candidates take part in what could be their only debate. For Vice President Kamala Harris, it's her first time on the biggest debate stage in the world, having to defend her record and face a rare round of sustained questioning.
She has not answered questions. She's not had unscripted moments. She's not spoken directly to voters.
The vice president has been prepping for the last week with a mock debate stage and a stand-in for Donald Trump. Her campaign says Harris will hold the former president accountable.
One thing we know about Donald Trump is he can't basically get through a sentence without saying something that's even a little bit hyperbolic.
Tonight marks Trump's 7th general election debate. His team has downplayed preparation efforts, saying that unlike Harris, the former president has been constantly answering unscripted questions.
He obviously has a record of success that he can stand on, and he's going to challenge Kamala Harris on exactly that.
Others suggest Trump should show restraint to draw in female voters.
You don't need to call Kamala dumb. She didn't get this far, just by accident.
This will be the last chance for Trump and Harris to impress some voters. Several battleground states should be sending out mail-in ballots this month.
So pretty much October 5th, as many believe, will be the official. But as this Fox News affiliate says here at, I guess, the end of September. So it's on like Donkey Kong, as some would say. It's going to be quite the thing. And this is the interesting thing. If you guys remember, the Democrats are not in link like they once were. This is Stephen A. Smith, the ESPN superstar, going off on Kamala Harris.
We're blaming you for flip-flopping on fracking. Is it true, are you? Healthcare. Has your position flip-flopped on that? Or is it the same? They're talking about, you got Syracuse out there talking about, now you willing to support building a wall after you spoke against it. Is that true? Is it? Boom, drop the mic. Is that true? Is it? These are legitimate questions, is all I'm saying. I'm not castigating her. I'm not casting convictions upon her or anything like that. I'm saying we want to hear from her because we've been waiting to hear from you for 4 years. We want to see where you stand and why.
You're right.
Where you stand and why.
I think maybe it's just like a mistake, right?
Stephen A. Smith cutting no slack, and he's a registered Democrat. He's gone on record. He's always voted Democrat. And just like so many others said they would never vote for Donald Trump, and one by one they're lining up. And I believe the main reason why is because Kamala Harris has not been able to give a clear message. She wasn't really elected by the people. They had an opportunity to have Robert F. Kennedy, Kane, and others wanted to primary Joe Biden. I think it would have been healthy for Joe or the Democratic Party. I think the problem is they deep down were hiding his dementia and his health concerns. There's another question for Kamala. Were you aware that Joe was not functional? And I think when people start having, she's been able to dodge some of that, but I think there's going to be some folks that want to know if she's for real and if she's going to do that because there's a lot of folks not comfortable with where she's at right now. Now, this was Joe Biden at the last debate. he tried to, he thought he was going to put a zinger on Donald Trump and call him a felon. Do you remember this moment? And it really didn't work well.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon. The only person on this stage is a convicted felon. The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
And he only glanced at him. It's like Donald Trump intimidated. And Donald Trump didn't interrupt. He didn't say anything. He just made one of his smirks. I think Donald Trump is learning how to keep the trap shut at times and to let them go on and make the fool of themselves. But the thing is, what they've done is they've helped a group of people identify. Here is a man of color that's created a song, I'm voting for the felon.
My vote. Hear freedom call. Hear freedom call. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon, President Trump.
You can go hear the rest of the song. It's on TrumpLatinos.com. But for a man of color to make that song, and by the way, he wears a cowboy outfit and a cowboy hat. He does a little rap kind of thing at the end. It's really kind of a unique song and very well done out on a farm. You ought to go see it. It's called Black Donald Trump Felon, and it's under the Trump Latinos website. So with this said, the thing they thought they were going, they put all their eggs into these illegal, in my opinion, or trumped up charges. Pardon the pun, trumped up charges. But if they went after Trump, especially in the Southern District of New York, a couple of things happened. One, when the mugshot came out, Donald Trump, it made him a superstar. He just went ahead and made T-shirts and helped support his campaign. And then when the unfair treatment, he wasn't allowed to respond, and they made him sit in the court. On lunch breaks, he would just go down to the bodegas down the road and just walk the streets with his security and meet people. And now Donald Trump has got a huge likability in New York, where he's from. Some believe there's a possibility he could flip the state. I don't know. That would be a reach. But even if he competes within 10 points, that would be a huge victory. Plus, it would go to the popular vote, if you will. I think the thing that's going to interesting is the Democrats. It's imploding. So I've told you for several weeks now, I think what they did was intentionally. They know Biden was going to lose. I think they know Kamala's going to lose without some shenanigans. But I wonder if what they're doing is this. They picked a far left Kamala and gave her a running mate, which is far left, Walz. Walz is as liberal, if not more liberal, than Kamala. Just think with me, is this a test of the nation to see how many of the country actually have bought in to this far left agenda? They may be saying, we're going to lose the election, but let's see how many believe our globalist viewpoints so they'll know how to work for 2028. Just saying it. Don't be too surprised, because the Democrats do, in my opinion, come across that they're better long-range planners than the GOP, except in this instance. I think the Democrats hung on to power too long. Feinstein, Pelosi, so many of them hung on to power so long and didn't really brain up. Now, I do believe Tulsi Gabbard was, before AOC, Tulsi Gabbard was the AOC. She was the darling. She was supposed to be the upcoming leader, I think. The problem with Tulsi is she could think for herself. She didn't like being bullied. So as Tulsi was very far left progressive, don't forget she was a Bernie Sanders, Feel the Burn supporter. Very far left, okay? I'm not stupid when I say I know she endorses Trump. Not everyone endorses Trump is going to agree on everything I say, and that's okay. Okay, if you're going to win elections now, you've got to build coalitions and partnerships. But with that said, you got to ask yourself, the Democrats then had to work with Hakeem Jeffries. He's not likable. Hakeem Jeffries has not been able to really solidify the party and the movement. AOC, she comes across pretty much like a cutesy little dingbat. She's in the squad. The whole squad's been a miserable failure. Many of them have lost and been voted out. So what's going on? The Democrats now have a messenger problem. Their message hasn't changed. They just don't have a messenger. Obama was a wonderful messenger for them. He was a man of color, and he brought out the hope and change. He brought us national championships in the NCAA. He brought us good diets for children in public schools. He brought us insurance for your kids that stay on your policy up to age 27. I try to find some positive things that Obama, he brought some things. Now, I didn't vote for him. I don't support 99% of what he did. But the point is, he was a good messenger. He had likability. When they had to run with Biden, that told you right there, the Democrats are like at the OK Corral and they're out of bullets. They're in a gunfight, and they, for the first time in a long time, the GOP actually have the advantage. They reach deep quicker into getting some younger superstars. Steve Johnson. Many of you I know are upset with Steve Johnson, but Steve Johnson has the potential to be a great Speaker of the House if Trump wins and he can get another 4 years behind him with some understanding. He's got potential. Don't give up on him. We've got Marsha Blackburn, Tuberfield, and some of them that are not old, but they are mature enough to help guide the youngsters that are coming up. So the GOP has done a better job, in my opinion, of bringing up some young stars. Now, what the Democrats have in Philadelphia, that governor is a superstar on the rise. I could see him and J.D. Vance in 2028. That's going to be a race. Ohio versus Pennsylvania, right there in the heartland of America. It's going to be interesting. And that may be why the Republicans went for J.D. Vance, knowing that guy in Philadelphia, he's very popular. And, he garners a lot of Republican votes. So, with all that said, this upcoming election is going to be interesting. And you got the Democrat. This is the Rubin Report talking about the stupidity of how Democrats view the election with one comment. And this guy always amazes me. And where did his tattoos go, by the way?
Fetterman. And John Fetterman, it's been an interesting year for him because I would describe him as the closest thing the Democrats have at this point to like a sane person on their side. But he does have some degree of brain damage still. And he's still a Democrat. And here he is just going into some of his old Democrat stuff. Listen to how he's trying to frame this debate tonight.
It's about the choice. It's not about the money, or it's about policies. Or
if you look at him, what happened to his neck tattoos? Do you remember when he ran? He ran with the hoodie. He kind of looked thuggish. He had tattoos. They're all gone. When he went in for surgery and that stuff, remember he couldn't even talk coherently? I don't know if y'all remember that. And he beat out Dr. Oz because the Republicans thought, hey, we'll run Herschel Walker in Georgia and Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Notoriety and name recognition, but they neither one had any political experience. Fetterman had some political experience. He had served at a lower level. So, but I still can't believe he won when he couldn't even put together a coherent sentence. You listen to John Fetterman now, and if you look at him now, it's kind of like he's not the same guy. I know 17 what you're telling me.
It's about the choice. It's not about the money, or it's about policies or those kinds of obscure things. It's about the choice and what kind of a direction do we want our nation to go in. And after all those things,
it's not about policy or those obscure things. It's so interesting because policy.
So he's downplaying that Kamala hasn't put out any policies yet. He's trying to help because he's got his likability has increased. Because he's been very much supportive of Israel. He's stayed with some things that have deemed pretty popular among the people. So it's interesting to see. So not all the Democrats are idiots, is what I'm saying, basically. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how this happens. And as we move forward, we've got to remind ourselves that there's an election coming up, and it's going to affect a lot of people. We're about to go to break, and before we go to break, I'm going to be talking after the 4:30 break, going into the 5 o'clock break. Have we been demasculated? As you look around this country, do you feel this country has been, have we lost some of our masculinity? If we were to go to war today and they had to recruit the average male 18 to, say, 25, 30 now, do we have a populace of men today that would, one, even go and defend this country? Because they've done a heck of a job brainwashing this younger generation to doubt our country, doubt our heritage, to hate our founding fathers. And so, therefore, they may not love this country to defend it. The other thing you might say is some of them may not want to get in a fight. They think, I'll just take pictures of you and I'm going to blast your Twitter feed. I'm sorry, pal, but that just really doesn't do it. What's going to happen if we were to get in a confrontation? Are we now going to be like in Star Wars, the Clone Wars? Are you going to have robots and drones? Are we going to become that kind of future army because we don't have enough guys? Or are we going to rely on the Caitlin Clark, the female populace, that seem to be tougher than the boys right now? You got to admit, she's a tough cookie. Caitlin Clark is taking it from all sides, and she just keeps on ticking, man. That young lady impresses the heck out of me. But we're going to talk about that as we get closer to that. And I want to remind you that the younger people seem to be having a little bit of sway from, if you want to say it, from the people in control, because 1/3 of the young people that were surveyed say they don't respect free speech as you and I would see it. They actually, and listen to these numbers, some kids even think it's okay to use physical harm, if you will, or physical restraints to keep others from expressing their free speech. This is dangerous, but this is what your public education and your collegiate level has done for the last 20 to 30 years.
Nearly 1/3 of college students think it's acceptable to use violence or other methods to stop a campus speech, according to a new survey. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, polled more than 50,000 college students from more than 250 universities. They found 32% of students believe it's at least sometimes okay to use violence to stop a campus speech, while more than half say blocking other students from attending would be acceptable. And 69% say shouting down someone to prevent them from speaking on campus is okay. And when it comes to having open and honest dialogue on campus, students say there are some topics that are more difficult to talk about than others. More than half said having an open and honest conversation about the war in Gaza is difficult. And nearly half said abortion was also a tough topic. And 42% said talking about transgender rights wasn't easy. About 1 in 4 college students surveyed also said it was not very or not at all clear if their administration protects free speech on campus. Get all of your latest updates on the topics you care about by downloading the Straight Arrow News app now.
So according to Straight Arrow News app, 1 in 3 college students say violent protesting is acceptable. Do you find that odd that the media is bringing this out right here before the fall, the campaign? I think we had a little taste of some of this craziness. And don't forget, the mayor of New York was very outspoken on this, and I'd like to play this clip just to remind you.
This is what your dishwasher looks.
Not all the Democrats believe some of this mantra. This is Mayor Adams in New York.
There's a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done.
So this is the Mayor Adams at a news conference. Don't forget, back when the Palestinian stuff first happened. And he took a strong stand, and because he took a strong stand, there is now a purging, if you will, of the FBI coming into New York, and they're going after the commissioner and others attached to the cabinet of the mayor. Listen to this.
NYPD Commissioner Edward Cabin is facing mounting pressure to resign after the FBI raided his home last week and seized his cell phone. The federal investigation into the NYPD has expanded beyond individual misconduct. Law enforcement sources say the investigation centers on allegations of sweeping corruption and influence peddling at the highest levels of the department, undermining public trust in the department's leadership. The probe has widened to include Cabin's twin brother, who's a former NYPD officer and is under scrutiny for allegedly acting as a fixer for troubled Manhattan nightclubs. At least 6 other high-ranking NYPD officials with connections to Mayor Adams have been implicated, with their homes raided and phones confiscated by federal agents. They include Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Philip Banks, First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, Banks' brother David Banks, who serves as New York City's schools chancellor, and Timothy Pearson, an aide to Mayor Adams and a former NYPD official.
Did you hear all those folks that are connected with the commissioner of the police or the mayor? The FBI is feeling the need. Now, is this the good FBI or the bad FBI? Because this is the interesting thing. Understand this. They didn't start going after Mayor Adams until he criticized Biden and the border. He criticized them sending too many people to his city. And then he said this that probably put him on the radar of the Democratic bully list.
When it was brought to my attention that there were those who came to the city to disrupt our city, and she was able, through her team, was able to conduct an investigation, and what I feared was actually materialized and actualized by those who were on the ground.
Now, one of the ladies he mentioned there is one of the ones the FBI is indicting. And what did they do? They were calling out the Palestinian and the illegal immigration to their city. Listen again to Democrat Mayor Adams, but after he said this, the FBI came down on him and his people.
And I know that there are those who are attempting to say, well, the majority of people may have been students. You don't have to be the majority to influence and co-op an operation. That is what this is about. And so if we want to play the word police, you could do so. I want to play the New York City police, where we're going to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally.
He exonerated and talked highly of the police of New York and his city and how he was going against a global attempt to go after the children. I don't know if you caught it. Let me just replay this last 45 seconds. This, I believe, is why the FBI is coming down on him.
City police, where we're going to protect the word police. You could do so. I want to play the New York City police, the New York City police, the New York City police, the New York City police.
Who today has been raided by the FBI for supposed corruption.
Where we're going to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people.
There you got it. From a Democratic mayor of one of the largest cities around the world, he said there's a movement to radicalize young people globally. I'll play this and then go to the break.
Globally, there is a movement to radicalize young people. And I'm not going to wait until it's done.
Well, a Democrat that dare thinks for himself, Tulsi Gabbard, she leaves. Look at the deputy. Kristen Sinema, she flipped to being an independent a year ago. Anyway, I'll be back.
Hi, this is Kat from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I just wanted to say how much I love your show. I love the topics that you cover and all the special guests that you have come online. It keeps things really fun and interesting. Thank you.
WVMG Chattanooga.
Little boy blue, come blow on your horn. The sheep's in the meadow, the cow's in the corn. You've messed up again. What's the matter with you? Can't you do anything right? Worthless little brat.
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life.
Somebody's going to get hit.
Teach carefully. We can show you how. We're ACT, Adults and Children Together Against Violence. And if you're a parent or caregiver, we can help you teach your child how to rise above violence, not succumb to it. Visit actagainstviolence.org for details or call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure. Call today, 877-ACT-WISE, and stop violence before it starts. This message brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Psychological Association, and the MetLife Foundation.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I had something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Just sit right back as the Dems implode. The swing states Trump will flip. Now Kamala, the open port on Joe Biden's sinking ship. We all know that Big Mike's a man, and Obama we endured. Dementia Joe was forced away, one too many slurs. Now democracy's secured. Primary started getting tough. Fake accent she whipped out. You know she lying when she starts to laugh. Democracy would be lost. We must win at all costs. The Democrats now confident, hoping you'll vote for insane. With giggling, the socialists too. Is she Indian, black or white? She's the border side. Obama and Michelle the man, here on Giggling Time.
I don't know what you think there, my friend, but Gigglin Island. It's going to be interesting. The debate is tonight, and if you haven't heard about it, here's a reminder.
President Kamala Harris and former President Trump will be facing off in Philadelphia tonight. They're going to be debating at a pivotal time with just weeks to go until the election and polls showing a tight race.
And that's depending on which polls you look at, of course. If you love Trump, you're looking at the Trump polls. If you love Kamala, you're looking, man, you have people that cater to their crowd. I mean, we're very tribal. You know that. Look at most Christians. You tend to go to church with people that look like you, dress like you, smell like you, live like you. So you can raise your hands and not be worried about any other things. Both sides do that. That's why you have folks. Now, I know folks said, we love a blended church, and I do too. And that's fine if you have one. If you don't, I'm not mocking that's a terrible thing, but we tend to be tribal. Even churches that have a mixed, if you want to call it nationality, and folks of color, if you will, they have the combination of God and Christ as their Savior, but they also tend to have other views, I think, that unite them, that tend to dig into how you live life. It's just the way it is. Especially if you're discipleship. Some churches are known for discipleship. They're very big on learning the word, deepening your faith. Some churches may be big on worship. It's the big show every Sunday. You're going to be guaranteed something better than American Idol. And others are more mission-minded. That's our church. Well, we're the type dress casual, because after church we might ask you to go down to the pantry and load up some stuff and help us feed the hungry. So every church is different. It depends on what brings you together. But hopefully it's all about Jesus Christ, amen? But everyone has their thing. But you and I need to understand that the presidential debate is tonight, and it's going to represent some things. But what's also happening in our country is there seems to be a demasculation. There seems to be a greater gender confusion. Now, this is the Toronto Sun, and this is a pediatrician making a statement on gender that may shock you, but it's true, I believe. American College of Pediatricians.
And we have serious concerns about the physical and mental health effects of the current protocols promoted for the care of children and adolescents in the United States who express discomfort with their biological sex. This declaration was authored by the American College of Pediatricians, but really it was developed from the expertise of hundreds of doctors, researchers, and other healthcare workers and leaders who, for years, have been sounding the alarm on the harmful protocols that continue to be promoted by the medical organizations in the United States. Despite recent revelations from the leaked WPATH files and the recent release of the final report from the CAS review, these medical organizations have not changed course. So we are calling on these medical organizations of the United States, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent.
Now, when I had to learn, did you catch all that? She was calling out, if you will, all these American titled pediatric, if you will, and it's very interesting. Let's listen again. These are who she's lovingly calling out. Check it out.
Revelations from the leaked WPATH files and the recent release of the final report from the CAS review, these medical organizations have not changed course. So we are calling on these medical organizations of the United States.
Do you know the Netherlands, parts of Europe stuff, that were ahead of us and has stopped this transgender stuff in the schools, and because they said it's damaging to the children? Has anyone told you this? This lady's trying to.
Including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry to follow the science and their European colleagues and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over social affirmation, puberty blockers, and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress.
That's going to send the teachers union out of their minds. Because they get government funding for promoting this crap. No Child Left Behind. Thank you, George Bush. With their ability to teach us all the same thing across the country, it's a wonderful brainwashing opportunity for all kids to be brought into the same mantra. Not to learn about your country, not to learn how to read or write or do arithmetic, but to learn how to hate your founding fathers, learn how to embrace these awkward sexual topics, and learn how to hide things from your parents. Did you know the average school system now for the last 9 to 10 years has promoted do not send homework home to your school? Public school for almost 10 years now has been kind of telling, don't tell the parents. PTA and PTOs are an all-time low. Why? Because parents and teachers, they're not communicating. And it's mainly because the teachers union wants parents left in the dark so that they can come up, and now for 10 years they've been really good at it, and 10 years prior they were sneaking at it, so they've got close to 20 years. These kids have now gone through a school system, if you will, learning not to trust your parents, don't trust authority, don't trust Christianity, don't trust things that made this country great. Embrace things that are against. That's why you're seeing such a big, I believe, such a big disconnect among certain categories, especially the educated. When you look at the biggest vote right now, supporters for Kamala Harris, the progressives and the liberals, it happens to be high educated female. The second is high educated white males. White males have bought into the white privilege bull, and they think somehow they owe apologies to people of color and other people around the country just because they were born white. Nothing they could control, nothing that they had any input on. They were actually having kids, if you remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right before COVID, they were having white kids apologize to kids of color in front of their class and shaming them. You remember that? Now, let's go back and listen to this pediatrician on American College of Pediatricians statement on gender. Again, the American College of Pediatricians statement on gender.
Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry to follow the science and their European colleagues and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty block.
Did you catch that? Follow the science and their European colleagues.
Adolescent psychiatry to follow the science.
Follow the science.
And their European colleagues.
Because Europe's tried this. It's messing up the kids. It's messing up the family. And look what's happening to Europe.
And immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over their biological sex.
I'll be back.
WVMG Chattanooga.
Hi, I just wanted to share that I love the radio show that Macil does. He just tells it like it is, which is so refreshing for a media outlet. He has an easygoing and uplifting personality, and he just makes you feel like you're a friend sitting in their living room talking. He does not fall for the gaslighting of today, and he shares the truth of the matter. I love his sense of humor, and his sound effects are great, like when he whistles, cracks me up. He has so much wisdom, and his variety of guests is just awesome. I learn a lot from his show. He does his research, obviously. So I just really wanted to say thank you, Chattanooga Radio. I just love this show. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's.
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm going to do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
All those smiling, happy faces, laughing, enjoying life. Then I turn the TV off, and I'm back to reality. The faces here are not so happy after the spill. I mean, just look around. The fourth-generation shop owner who'd give anything to turn on his dusty open sign. The fisherman with the 1,000-mile stare. People of the Gulf region have been through a lot, and we're pretty good at bouncing back, but we can all use some help from time to time. If you're experiencing increased anxiety, worry, or anger, you should know that the assistance you may need to help you cope is here. For confidential counseling, call 800-985-5990. 800-985-5990. Or text TALK WITH US to 66746. With help, you won't need a TV to see a smiling face, only a mirror. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. Message and data rates may apply.
I've had trouble with Angel trying to finish high school. He's always struggled through even elementary. It would be frustrating because sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I would ask him, so you're going to school today, right? He would say, yeah. And then later during the day, I would get a phone call saying he wasn't in class. He dropped out for a whole month. There's a time that I just gave up. I just decided, you know what, I don't know what to do with you. I mean, I pretty much have done everything to try to get you back to school. You know, you feel that maybe you're not a good parent, or maybe we don't know how to fix the problem. I really didn't have many people to look to but myself. Now I think that it's gotten a lot better. Now I at least have hope that he'll finish high school. I can't give up. He's still my son. You know, I can't give up.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
And back, this is the Macil Duncan Show, live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, broadcast with USAHeartbeat.com, StreetLevelAmerica.com, DestinyLifeMedia.com, SGM Alabama Radio, we appreciate our Alabama affiliate, the New Jersey Freedom Network, the Tennessee Conservative platform, God in Politics Network, and, of course, the Revolver Media in Indiana. Thank you so much, Josh, for promoting the show. Not to mention the Macil Duncan Radio that controls our X account, our Facebook, X, Twitter, Rumble, etc. Anyway, we are blessed. We are getting out there, and thank you. want to give a free shout out to my good friend Marty Haynes, who sells these Bibles. Not Marty Haynes, excuse me, Marty Lively, two pals of mine that are Christians. Marty Lively, he's an Alabama fan, but if you can look past that, these holy Bibles, learn about your faith. These are actually numbered, and they're color-coded to where you can help lead someone to Christ even if you feel very nervous about sharing your faith. It also comes, if you want to call it, the cheat sheet. That's what I call it. You can allow someone to hold the Bible, and each of the verses are color-coded on the little card that you have. Not to mention, they come with a wristband, especially for children. It's a wonderful evangelism tool we use here at the church. I try to teach this evangelism workshop at least once a year in the congregation, and I try to offer opportunities to go out and share our faith. Now, we go downtown, and we share with the different folks downtown on the streets in the tent cities, a lot of veterans down there, and we've led several to Christ. But this is a wonderful tool. If you'd like to know more about it, contact me, and I'll send you the information. Send me an IM. Well, talking about the, if you want to call it, the demasculation of our country, I think a lot of folks are concerned with it. And because we used to have songs that kind of reflected masculinity. You remember this one?
Oh, how you tried to cut me down to size, telling dirty lies to my friends. Oh, my own father said, give her up, don't bother. The world isn't coming to an end. He said, walk like a man, talk like a man, walk like a man, my son. No woman's worth falling on the earth, so walk like a man, my son.
So used to have this, if you will, father-son. It talks about, this has been a while, that song's an old one. But there used to be that mentality, that mantra, that manhood mattered. And I think it's amazing. If you go remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life, when he's a kid, he's in the drug shop, and he doesn't know what to do, and he looks up at the sign in the drugstore, and it says, ask your father. Remember that? I love the old movies and songs at times. So as you think about that, this generation, one, doesn't have the family unit that's biblical to have that masculine, that father figure. Many kids, and it's not all the ladies' fault. Some guys have bailed. But there's been a high increase of feminism into the young men. And you're seeing that, and it's affecting things. And one area, Tucker Carlson brings this up. See if you agree with Tucker.
And there are a lot of them like this. Roger Wicker of Mississippi, I think he's probably a good guy. They're weak. There's something in them that's weak, and they've decided, I'm not, the other side is ascendant, the left is winning. I'm not going to push any buttons that, might infuriate them. They're not lion-hearted. And this is a moment when you need people who aren't, vicious, lashing out, crazy, that I hate that, but who are legitimately strong, who will say, here are my principles. I will clearly articulate them for you. And by the way, I'll die for them, because that's what principles are, real principles, not BS, this is the tax rate I want. But people should be allowed to say what they really believe. That's called freedom of speech. It's guaranteed in the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights. That's a non-negotiable point, period. Someone who will do that. And there are none of them. The only ones who will do it are women. And that has a lot of consequences. For one thing, it drives the women crazy. There are a lot of really angry women right now, have you noticed? And I think a lot of them are angry because their men are.
And I believe so, too. There's a lot of men out there that have become, pretty cowardly. Now, you can act like someone's a redneck if they talk about freedom of speech and stuff, but that's not the case. But a lot of, especially the higher educated men in this country, have been, I guess the term, tampon-timmed.
I think that. I don't think that. I know that. And I've been married to the same woman for 30 years. And if you want to make her mad, weak men, and this is true for I have 3 daughters. I see this all the time. Weak men make them mad because it's wrong. And this is basic and human. You know, all the true basic human things are the things we're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
We can talk
Right.
about our dumb theories, but the way that
Right.
people really are, nature itself is so offensive to our leaders because it challenges their totally unnatural program.
So think about this. From what Tucker Carlson's talking about, masculinity, some women get offended by weak men. On the flip side, you have a Donald Trump who is hyper masculine. He's a very macho guy. He doesn't take crap. He swings back when swung upon. He defends himself. He defends the nation. And so I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to him. At first, I think in 2016, think with me, this is a Macil theory, see if you agree. I think he went against the norm of masculinity. Not just he was pro-America, he was pro-manhood. You know, he was pro for, hey, come on, dude, step it up. And the Hillary Clinton who was running against him was, hey, wait a minute, it's our turn, we're in charge. I'm going to break the glass ceiling and tell you guys what to do. And evidently America said, not so fast, my little lying one. So Tucker Carlson makes a good point that there seems to be some problem here. Now, he's talking with Glenn Beck, and it's a great about a 12-minute clip if you want to hear the whole thing, but I don't have time. But here's a lady talking about the disappearance of men. She wrote a book about it.
When we do talk about masculinity, and we're often talking about it in negative terms. In some circles, phrases like men are trash or men are garbage have become de rigueur. I think the word that people most associate with masculinity right now is the word toxic, which doesn't really bode well for the whole thing. So it's hard to be convincing when you say men are in trouble. After all, like, look around us. All 45 US presidents have been men, and probably the next president will be one too. If you look at the S&P 500 a few years ago, there are actually more CEOs named Michael or James than there are women CEOs, period. But that said, most men aren't CEOs, and most men aren't president of the United States. It's easy to focus in on a certain set of men that are doing well, and realize that the majority of men are not hanging on so well. I'm Christine Emba. I'm an author and a journalist, and my latest book is Rethinking Sex, A Provocation.
And she calls it The Crisis of Modern Manhood. Now, she's a lady of color. As you can tell, she's very intelligent. But I'm going to play just a little bit more so you understand where she thinks that the majority of men right now in the country aren't happy.
So, what are the trends that have led men to struggle in this moment? I think that there are three key areas where we can clearly see that men are struggling, perhaps even, yes, in crisis. Our labor market has changed over the past several decades due to globalization and deindustrialization.
Bingo. Globalization. She hit the nail on the head. That's not MAGA. That's World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, etc., etc. I'll be back. We're about to start the 5 o'clock hour.
Hey, I'm from Texas, and I love listening to your show because y'all tell truth on there. You don't water it down, and I know what I listen to is real. And so, yes, just want to say that I'm glad that you're doing the show, and I'm friends with Jolene, and I do love America. I really do. Keep going. Gung ho, guys, with the show. We got your back. Bye.
WVMG Chattanooga.
Hi, I'm Mickey Hart of the Grateful Dead, and we've traveled all over the world, from Amsterdam to the Great Pyramids of Egypt. But I can't think of anywhere more full of beauty, life, and music than our own national forests. I love the forest, but you know, all its beauty can be taken away from us through one careless act. A campfire unattended, a cigarette butt thrown out a car window, or a trash fire left alone. You see, one little fire can quickly become one big fire, a forest fire. And before you know it, the trees stop swaying, the flowers stop blooming, and the birds stop singing. So please, be careful in the forest. It belongs to all of us, and remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
A public service of this station, the Forest Service, USDA, your state foresters, the Ad Council,
and the Grateful Dead.
This is the sound of a brand new outdoor grill being hurled off a 20-story building. Now a stylish glass coffee table. An electric guitar. These are the things you could enjoy, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Visit EnergySavers.gov and get tips on how to save energy and money. Then do things like switch to Energy Star light bulbs or Energy Star appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. So this doesn't happen to the recliner you've had your eye on, or this to the treadmill on your wish list, or this to the shiny new bike your kid's been asking for. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Want to fight childhood asthma? Then fight it with a scrub brush and a hot soapy towel. Even in the neatest and tidiest homes, if there's so much as a crumb to eat or a drop to drink, household pests like bugs and mice will do all that they can to get it. Creepy crawlies like bugs and mice are unpleasant enough as it is, but they're more than just a nuisance for kids with asthma because they can actually trigger an asthma attack. So give them a whole lot of nothing. Sweep up crumbs, wipe down tables, scrub dishes before they pile up in the sink, and store leftovers in plastic bags or bowls. Don't leave them so much as one tidbit or nibble, and you can stop a childhood asthma attack before it starts. Discover other simple ways to prevent an asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS or visit noattacks.org, because no child should feel like a fish out of water. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. EPA, the Ad Council, and this station.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and this is the Macil Duncan Show, live from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're now in 37 states, Mexico, and Canada. Thanks to each and every one of you that like, share the show, and tell a friend. Well, as you guys know, tonight's going to be a big night. It's presidential debate time.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump will be facing off in Philadelphia tonight. They're going to be debating at a pivotal time with just weeks to go until the election, and polls showing a tight race.
And many folks, depending on which poll you look at, predicting one or the other to have the advantage. We won't know, of course, anytime, I don't think, for a while. I just, you know, we're tribal. I've mentioned that. We tend to go with who we look like and smell like, and that's just a fact check. Well, been talking about the demasculation of what's going on in our country. We had this is the American College of Pediatrics saying that we need to follow the science of what Europe has done, and is speaking out against transgenderism and the education system that's creeping in our country.
Society, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry to follow the science and their European colleagues and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over their biological sex.
This is huge. Now, this is from the American College of Pediatricians. They're saying that what we're doing is actually hindering children, not helping, especially when you put a child through a sex change, which is irreversible. Once a child it becomes, you take them biologically from a guy to a girl or a girl to a guy, they cannot produce children. And don't forget, there's a strategy by Bill Gates and other globalists to depopulate the earth. They've got an organization. Please try to prove me wrong. Look at all the times Bill Gates mentions in his speeches, we must depopulate the earth. And he talks about vaccinations. He talks about using contraceptives. All these things. He goes, but with those at a good job, we're still not going to. And for some reason, he thinks we've got too many people on the planet. I didn't know Bill Gates somehow won the election for God. Anyway, so when you go and look at the politics that's happening right now, there is a man that's really making an impact on the election. Not Donald Trump. No, sir. It's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's a movement happening how Trump's alliance with RFK is winning over wellness influencers. Many people had a very, they didn't realize the impact the independent people and the independent voters, many of them are health conscious people. And Kennedy has a huge draw on them. So Kennedy, since he's entered the race, you can go to the Daily Wire and read this. In smaller print, it says, I have been waiting my entire adult voting life for a presidential candidate to acknowledge how sick our country is. Donald Trump has said he would love to put Kennedy over examining our health and our food and drugs, and Elon helping with the economy, etc. He's brought two Democrats, the richest man on the planet, Elon, and Democrat royalty, Kennedy, to the table right before this presidential debate, which I think is going to be historic tonight. As I told you, I believe it's going to backfire. I believe it will be Kamala Harris that loses her cool and will not be able to contain herself, because I think she's going to pull out the prosecutor mentality, and I believe she's going to try to go after Donald Trump, if you will, like a hostile witness. But I played this song in the last segment because it's an oldie goodie, but it's what's going on in our country. We need to teach boys how to walk like a man.
Walk like a man, talk like a man, walk like a man, my son. No woman's worth crawling on the earth. So walk like a man, my son. Ooh-wee.
Y'all heard this song?
Walk, 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 walk.
Now, I do say these are guys singing that high. Shabammer. Okay, anyway. So you've got Tucker Carlson I played earlier. I'm just going to play a segment here.
Mississippi, I think he's probably a good guy. They're weak. There's something in them that's weak, and they've decided, I'm not, the other side is ascended, the left is winning. I'm not going to push any buttons that, might infuriate them. They're not lion-hearted. And
Tucker Carlson, on a interview with Glenn Beck, talks about how a lot of men, especially in politics, aren't lion-hearted like Donald Trump. That's why he seems to draw in the men. If you notice in the recent polling, Donald Trump is up with black men. He's up with young men in the Gen Zs. He's drawing because masculinity, I think because of the feminist oppression over the past 4 to 6 years, I think there's like saying, wait a minute, I think I like being a guy. I think it's okay to be a man and be a friend with a man's man. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So the disappearance of men seems to be happening. And I played a little clip here from, this is a professional lady of color who is doing a study, if you will.
When we do talk about masculinity, we're often talking about it in negative terms. In some circles, phrases like men are trash or men are garbage have become de rigueur. I think the word that people most associate with masculinity right now is the word toxic.
And that's a shame. And she goes on to talk about in the clip here, and I may play some more later in the week, where she talks about that, yes, there are some rich men that have power, but majority of the men right now in America are battling because economics and different reasons, and they're feeling demasculated. And I think she's right. Well, one area I think that we allowed to see right before our very eyes was the Boy Scouts of America.
Well, one of the oldest organizations in America is getting a new name. The Boy Scouts of America say it's time for a change.
NBC Barry's Ian Cole explains the debate this name change is sparking.
After 114 years, the Boy Scouts of America is turning into Scouting America. The organization's president announced the new name at their annual conference today in Florida, saying it'll make the Scouts more inclusive and welcoming to everyone.
Why? You've got Girl Scouts, by the way, who has not embraced guys joining. If there are, it's not made the news, but Boy Scouts has been demasculated. It's lost its man card. Now, I know some will say, well, I want my daughter to be able to go camping and stuff. Fine. The Girl Scouts go camping. They sell cookies. Guys, Boy Scouts sold the popcorn. That used to be the deal. But there is a reason they want gender confusion in this country. They want our kids confused. Don't think this is all by accident, and it sure isn't for your and my benefit. It's because they have agenda. Globalists always have an agenda. And I think that's the concern many of us have. The agendas don't tend to come out till much later, and I think that's where Kennedy comes in, and he talks about how there's problem in the food. And but why did the Boy Scouts vanish? There's a blogger here. Just listen to his thoughts.
Why did the Boy Scouts disappear? On May 7th, 2024, the Boy Scouts of America announced that after 115 years, the organization would change its name to Scouting America. So, why did the Boy Scouts abandon their old name? And in order to understand this, we need to understand why they were formed in the first place. Starting in 1910, the Boy Scouts emerged from a need to save lost boys from city slums, teaching them virtues like patriotism, honesty, courage, and self-reliance. Its founders envisioned an organization that combined a boy's craving for heroism with a code of chivalry, all wrapped in the lure of the great outdoors. The early Boy Scouts understood that masculinity was both self-sacrificing and ennobling. And this spirit of duty and selflessness was at the core of what it meant to be a scout. And for well over half a century, the value of an all-boys organization was self-evident to pretty much everyone. However, beginning in the late 60s and early 70s, things began to change. In just one generation, America witnessed the subtle disintegration of traditional family structures. And this collapse of the family was accompanied by a devaluation of traditional masculinity. And culturally, positive male role models practically disappeared from TV shows, being replaced by men as either idiots or villains.
And I think he's right. Now, being a youth pastor, as I was for 18 years, and many at large churches, we had a scout troop when I was on with the youth pastor at First Baptist Cary. Every Monday night, we had 300 to 400 young men that met at our church that were in Boy Scouts all over the community. I had the privilege of witnessing Eagle Scouts. Now, in case you didn't know what, right before this demasculation hit, what was happening was a lot of boys were not finishing their Eagle Scout projects. A matter of fact, only 2% of young men that entered the Scout program finished their Eagle Scouts, because to be an Eagle Scout, you had to, one, finish it before your 18th, before your 19th birthday. So if you turn 19, you're done. The second thing, you had to complete all your badges, all your work. And the third thing, you had an Eagle Scout project that was for the community. You had to go and do something for your community that was a self-sacrifice project. When I was in Charlotte pastoring, we had an Eagle Scout group that made an outdoor because we had a lot of woods in the back of our property, they made an outdoor amphitheater. And we used it for years. I'm sure they're still using it for outdoor concerts or for the youth group to go have a bonfire and have a speaker. And they had these benches made out of wood. It was made by the Eagle Scouts. There was a prayer garden made at First Baptist Cary by the Eagle Scouts. I'm just saying that was an investment in the boys, in the community, and later in the nation. It's all gone. Demasculation has been taking place, and I think it's a concern that many of us have. Now, I've got a Marine that's going to be calling in. His name's Bobby Parker. He and his wife are raising 2 boys, and they just had a young girl. But he's got and I'm going to have him talk to us about it, his strategy of raising godly, masculine men. I love the thing, and he spoke at my church not too long ago. But Girl Scouts are speaking out. This is interesting. See what you think.
Time we are hearing from the local leaders of the Girl Scouts. Now they are talking about the decision for the Boy Scouts to accept girls.
Yeah, Parker Collins is live at Southern Nevada's Girl Scout headquarters with more on what this means for our groups. Parker.
Dana, the Girl Scouts basically are not worried at all. They told me no one can do what they do.
They're not worried at all because they've pretty much took over the Boy Scouts. You pretty much just have a scout, if you will. But because now what's happened, there's been several groups that have offshot from the Boy Scouts being invaded, if you will, and losing their ability. But here's a comment. See what you think about this.
This article, men are more likely to use almost all types of illicit drugs at a higher rate than women, thus their higher prevalence of emergency.
Now, this was the podcast, and it's the rise of weak men, and I think a lot of folks are concerned with this because there seems to be a prevalence of weak men rising in the country, and I'm going to see what you think about this. I'll continue to play.
But the reality of it is, 1944, a man's man was storming the beaches of Normandy, and they knew most of them were going to lose their lives, but they're like, nope, I'm doing this because this is what men are supposed to do. Today, people are storming the beaches of their couch to play Call of Duty. 40, 50 years ago, without social media, we had to go learn how to pick up girls and flirt and have lines and be rejected. Today, you just got to swipe right. Years ago, you had to learn how to hunt to get your food. Today, you just call Uber Eats. Lots changed. Are men becoming pansies? Are they becoming soft? Are we becoming passive, like, oh my gosh, betas? Is that what's happening? I got a bunch of data I want to talk to you about that has to do with what we bench pressed 30 years ago versus today. Squat, our grip strength, bunch of different things that are influencing men to become softer. And for some of you that are watching this that completely disagree with my message, I would love to have you watch this message.
And this is the podcast Valuement, and if you want to go check it out, Valuement, it's online. But the breakdown of toxic masculinity today in America. So I'm very amazed at why so many folks today are, I guess, just letting it happen without even raising a finger, it doesn't seem. But there seems to be something about men and women, I believe, that are still different. And here is another quick take right before Bobby calls in. See what you think.
The data from the United Nations, the Great Cup of the United States is a little more full with females, having about 102 women for every 100 men.
Did you catch that? The UN is saying there's more women than men in America.
The Great Cup of the United States is a little more full with females, having about 102 women for every 100 men. If you're looking for even more female friends...
Now this is men versus women, how they different. And this is the it's a study, and it's involved in a lot of UN data. See what you think.
Estonia. Both places have the greatest relative amount of women in the world, with about 117 women for every 100 men. If you're on a quest for a greater concentration of Y chromosomes, Qatar might be just the place for you. It rings in at having the highest relative amount of delightful dudes, only having about 32 women for every 100 males.
So you've got still some places where the women outnumber the men. But in America, right now, it's saying that we have more women than men. So here to talk to me about masculinity is former Marine Bobby Parker. Bobby, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, Maso. How you doing, my man?
I am good, my friend. And before we get started on our topic, tell folks the name of you're a trainer by trade now. You went from Marine to trainer, and he's been my personal trainer, and he'll kick your butt and help you lose weight and do well. But what's the name of your gym now that you own?
Oh, yeah, man. The name of my gym is Ironclad Fitness, and you can find me on Instagram. It's new, the Instagram pages, and I'm posting things about health and fitness tips, client highlights, my own personal journey, and, you know, kind of just trying to get a message out there that you don't have to, you can be anywhere in your journey, in your fitness journey, and get started and completely get to wherever it is that you want to go.
Well, I tell you what makes your journey to me special. I personally got to kind of watch you grow in your faith. You and I got to be friends just shortly after you became saved. Was it at Dallas Bay Baptist?
It was Bayside Baptist.
Bayside. I knew it was one of the bays. Okay. Bayside Baptist, and you got saved and baptized there. And of course, Bayside's a great church, and so is Dallas Bay. But as you got saved, you started getting hungry for the Word, and I love it when I see a guy get hungry for the Word. You started growing to where you're now helping with a house church. Am I right?
Yes, we have a house church. It's run by a couple people, and we have, you know, seven, 8 or 9, I'm not sure, families that come, and it's very organized, and we love it because, you know, I love Bayside. I love, you know, the church, the going and everything like that. But kind of one of the things that we can really do with a home church is dive deep into topics and things that we either have questions about or we don't know as much about. And it makes it a lot more personal.
Well, not all sizes, not every size fits all. You know, and that's why you have different sizes. You know, some like Nike, some like a Reebok. You know, some like a Converse. You know, your tennis shoes to your jeans preference, etc. And if you're growing more in a house church, more power to you. But the thing I was most impressed with when I've had Bobby at my church a couple of times, but this last time you came to speak, you made a statement about what you have 2 sons, and then, of course, the daughter. But you told us how you were going to raise your sons. Do you mind enlightening my audience on that?
Oh, I will do my absolute best to encapsulate it. There's well, you know, one of the biggest things of when I got saved was I actually started asking the question, what does it mean to be a man, be a good man, be a good father, be a good husband? And, you know, it's one of the things, I guess, the simplest things that I try to teach my boys is, you know, their job growing up with their friends, with outside, is to protect the people that are more vulnerable than they are. It doesn't matter if they're involved. It doesn't matter, you know, what the situation is. If they know something is wrong, they have to confront it. If they know something is right, then they have to do it, even at the expense of, you know, themselves, if it comes to that.
Now, I've got to take that. That's
one of the things I tell them all the time is it's, you know, you're not just going to be the reason that you don't get bullied at school. It's your job to be the reason that there are no bullies at your school, period.
That's what it was. You told them not to allow people to bully others, even if they're not being bullied, to engage. What a concept for parents to teach their kids to be kind and generous, but also be firm and not allow unkindness to dominate where they live. Where did you get that from? Is that from the Marines, from the Bible, or is it a combination?
You know, honestly, most of it, and what I actually believe, most of it comes from the Bible and just kind of learning more of, you know, what God expects from me, the gifts that He's given me, the advantages that He's given me, and how I'm supposed to use them. And, it's something that, I think that a lot of America's problems today are due to men abandoning their masculine role, their masculine identity, whether it's by choice or whether it's been beaten out of them or it's been taught to them that it's bad and, they need to suppress these things for the betterment of society, whatever the situation is. I love this topic about, masculinity and what it actually means to be a good man. And, one of the things is you have to make yourself competent. You have to make yourself capable, and you have to make yourself strong, physically, emotionally, mentally, and learn how to constrain it and learn how to use it constructively. It's I don't view it as, if you're not capable of doing harm and you don't do harm, I don't think that that's a moral good. I think that it becomes a moral good when you're capable of doing harm and you choose and decide not to.
Well, I think that's a very training your boys. You want them to be men of God, but masculine men of God, if you will. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I tell them all the time, and they love it. I'm raising little lions.
That's it, little lions.
They get excited when I say that, and when I say it to my friends, or they can hear. I see them get this little nervous smile on their face, and oh yeah.
You know what's amazing? Every Friday, by the way, Bobby and his two boys now help pick up food for our food pantry, and his little fellas, they don't want any help. They like to lift the boxes onto the carts themselves, and I would say they're pretty strong now. Their ages are what, 6 and 8?
5 and 8.
5 and 8, and they got little. You got them working out, man. They got the little guns going, and but I think they enjoy serving others, don't they?
Oh man, and I love all of my clients, but those are definitely my favorite clients, and I'll take the hit on that one. But it's and that's the thing is one of the reasons why I decided to do the job that I'm doing and doing it how I'm doing it is I want them to be a part of it. I want them to see me do it and and try to emulate it. And when I come down here and I work out myself, they come and work out with me, and then it's kind of where Jackson, my oldest, as soon as we're done working out, he comes upstairs and says, "All right, what can I eat so I can build muscle?" And it's he's gotten on this beef and rice kick because I've been eating a lot of beef and rice lately. But yeah, this little 8-year-old comes up and he flexes in the mirror and says, "All right, I need to eat something with some protein in it." And man, I just love it. Out of all the things they could be thinking about or doing, it's something that I want them to enjoy. I don't force them to do anything. And, one of the things that I realize is what I want them to do, that's what I have to do. They're only going to listen to a very, very small percentage of what I actually tell them, but they're going to listen to most of what they see me do.
Now, some of my Chattanooga audience may remember that Bobby was on every Friday with me back when we were at Nooga Radio before it went bankrupt. But now we're with I'm with USAHeartbeat.com, Street Level America, and Destiny Life Media, etc. So the folks on Chattanooga may be recognizing your voice. I've actually had some people say, "Hey, where'd Bobby go?" And Bobby and Josh, and they would do an hour together on fitness, and you guys were, what do they call it when you try to live off the land these days?
Homesteader?
Homesteader. Yeah, Josh was doing a lot of homesteader stuff. But with all that said, if people wanted to be trained, you actually opened up a gym in your house. You converted your garage, and it's a very nice looking gym when they go online.
Yeah.
And you're a big believer in one-on-one mentoring, because I've got church members that go to you, and Tim loves, for instance, one. But if someone right now is listening and saying, I like the thought of a Marine who's patriot, he's a godly father, I would like to maybe have you train me, and they're in the Chattanooga area, how can they contact you, Bobby?
Oh, so just if you have an Instagram account, just go to Ironclad Fitness USA, and you can message me. You can comment on one of the videos or anything like that. If nothing else, you can go there and just kind of take a look at everything. And yeah, that's the best way right now. And yeah, I love it. Do everything from just getting you started. You know, if you're starting a journey and you want it to be a lifestyle change, you know, the behavior modification, figuring out how to fit this in your busy schedule, because everybody has a busy schedule these days. You know, if it's just a month of getting you started, putting you on the right path, giving you the blueprint, I do everything from fixing your form. I write all of your workout routines based off of what you can do, the experience level that you're at, and I calculate out, and this is one of the most important things, the calories you're supposed to eat, the macronutrients, so your protein, carbs, and fats. And I write an entire meal plan to where if you follow the meal plan and do the workouts, you will get to exactly where you want to go.
Well, I bring this up because there's a guy that's kind of been a huge influence as of late. It's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about fitness, and his thing is make America healthy again. Being a Democrat royalty, he has now joined the Trump team and endorsed Trump, but he would like to take on the FDA, and he thinks our food. And he brought up a point in one of his talks, and I didn't know this. Did you know Canada won't buy certain? They have to, and I think it's Hunt's ketchup, and some of them, they have to make a certain batch of their product because some of the chemicals they sell here in their own country, here in America, is not allowed in parts of Europe and in Canada. What do you think of that?
That's what I was just about to say. It is not just Canada. It is Europe. It's in a lot of places around the world. And our country allows things in our food that are known to be cancer causing, known to cause things like diabetes and Alzheimer's and allergies and just chronic inflammation that leads to all types of stuff. They allow it in our food, but then won't allow it in Europe. And actually, you can go online and just type in things like, like sodas, Sprite, ketchup, condiments, these things. And you can type in the comparison of the nutrition label from the American version and the European version. In the American version, you'll look at it and it'll be an ingredients list, almost a paragraph long. And the European version will be, a lot shorter, and it will have more natural products and food in it. And it's by the same company. It's the same product. It's just they make it differently for these places because they are allowed to put this crap in our food here, and they're not there.
Well, even Whole Foods, they're finding out. Kennedy said even some of your Whole Foods have they sell some products that still have the toxins and stuff in it. But I'm going at somewhere. He also mentioned in one of his talks that there has been high forms of estrogen and stuff trying to make men more, I guess, less masculine. Is that the way?
Yeah, more feminine.
And do you see that? Because you're big on reading labels, because you worked at a vitamin nutrition shop as well as you've been a Marine. You're a professional trainer. So this is your world we're talking about. What's your advice to men out there? There's probably men out there listening saying, hey, I want to be a man. Is there foods that they need to be mindful of that might be giving them a little bit of the whether they know it or not, that might be putting them in the effeminate category?
Well, so what I'll say, there's a lot of things what they call phytoestrogens in our food, and you're right. So there's things that are allowed to happen that make us more feminine and raise our estrogen levels, which lower our testosterone levels. And one of them is, for instance, just our drinking water, the tap water. Ever since the kind of mass prescription of birth control, when we drink our water, it's filtered out, but the filters aren't small enough to take out the hormones or the estrogen hormone. And so if you're drinking tap water, for instance, most of the time there's going to be higher levels of estrogen in there that will actually affect your endocrine system and your hormone levels. But
is that why they've made it? If they made it illegal for people to buy, like if they have well water, they're making it illegal in some states to sell that.
No, well, and so this is it gets a little tricky because this is where you get from going from incompetence to malice, and I definitely think that there are some actors at the very top that do this out of malice, that they absolutely know what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. It's for a purpose. It's for a hidden agenda. And, one of the big reasons is, the people who start revolutions are strong masculine men. And they fear strong masculine men that are set and grounded in principles and will fight for what they believe in. And one of the things that happens when your testosterone drops is you lose a lot of that desire to fight, that drive, the ambition. And, just to kind of tell you a little bit of the statistics behind it, I try to get every single one of my clients to go get their hormone levels checked when we get started. Because the numbers that we're seeing is the average testosterone level of a 30-year-old today is the average level of a testosterone level of a 60-year-old back in 1980.
Wow. So they're messing with man land. That's not cool, man. You mess with man land, and guys are having problems, erectile dysfunction. They're having issues, and then of course you're having the transgender making guys confused or etc. And they're messing with the kids. That bothers me.
Oh no, I know. Well, and it is. I think that there's been and the thing is, there's so many things that can go into it, like what affects your hormone levels, testosterone, and just kind of like your world view about it. But it's the detriment of it is it's incalculable. I mean, when you're lower in testosterone, you're going to hold on to body fat more. You're going to burn through muscle mass if you're not trying to constantly work it out and build it. You're going to be more lethargic. You're not going to have as much energy. Effort is hard. And, that's one of the things that, it's been described to me as when people do things, naturally or in any way to raise their testosterone level, it basically makes effort feel good. And, I definitely think that there is an agenda. They know if they go after our kids, then they basically control the next generation because kids are, naive and malleable. And, what's happening, kind of touching on what you've been talking about, if they teach a lot of young boys that their masculinity is bad and it should be feared and it's dangerous, then they're going to grow up not developing that and trying to push it down. And, and I just want to say, too, the whole idea of toxic masculinity, it doesn't exist. In my mind, it doesn't exist. There's masculinity, and then there's toxic people. And, and what I think is as soon as somebody starts to become toxic, they no longer are acting in their masculine nature. Because to me, masculinity it's a lot of things, but it's seeking responsibility and trying to fulfill that responsibility no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the feelings. It's being in control of your emotions, not devoid of emotion, but in control of your emotion, knowing when it's appropriate to let them show, when it's appropriate to hold them in, and basically just trying to, master yourself. It's one of the things that I try to do, and I oftentimes I fail, but when I discipline my kids, I try not to do it with emotion. I make sure that, if I'm punishing them for something, grounding them for something, even the few times that I've had to spank them, I don't do it when I'm angry, because I don't want them to think that, because how they register it, if you do it out of anger, then we're losing control of our emotions, as opposed to this is something fair and logical.
Well, the steroids do that, right? If some people want to go overboard masculine, and they'll take supplements that can take you to another level. That's not really masculine. It's
the
what's your view on
masculine? So steroids, masculinity. That's I equate that with security. It's I think that the word masculine and ego often get conflated and put together. And if you're doing something like taking steroids because and just completely jacking up your levels to something that you think that you need to be, that comes from a place of insecurity. And I think that kind of leaves the realm of being masculine and being more feminine, which is a good thing in women and not a good thing in men.
Well, do you think guys too? We have a competitive nature, and some women do too.
Oh yeah.
But the competitive nature, you're in the gym, and it cracks me up because I'm beyond trying to be the toughest dude in the gym. I just want to tone up or lose some weight. And you get around some of these guys, and it just, if somebody outdoes them, it's like they're determined to show you I'll do more than that. And watching back in the day when a friend of mine, Eric Johnson, and I, we used to bench press in college and stuff. I mean, of course, he could always out bench press me, and he missed 3 months because he had a job. I got ahead of him, Bobby, in bench press, and I did 300 and something one time without squirming. My butt was on the bench. It was a legit boat one time. He came in and couldn't do it.
Oh, man, that was a good feeling.
For only 2 weeks. He just had, some guys have the natural. Eric has the natural, the Greek god, if you will. He gives him 2 weeks, and he's in there pumping more than me again. And I just, you have to resign to the fact some folks are just stronger than you, etc. And not let it get to you too much. But with that said,
well, that kind of goes into a little bit thing. I think you're right. There's a natural competitiveness, but and that is a good thing. That's manly. That's masculine. That's all that. But when you start to get into the victimhood mindset, I can tell you the victimhood mindset is one of the worst, most toxic things that anybody could have. If you were looking at that and, in your friend, as soon as 2 weeks in, he starts benching more than you, and you started going off and saying, it's not fair. Oh, you just have a gift, or, I don't know, God gave you more than me, or whatever it is. Like that is completely different than having that healthy competitiveness and a drive to better yourself and surrounding yourself with people that are better than you.
Well, and the thing is, though, I think that's where, like you mentioned earlier, insecurities, that could drive a guy to go then get the steroids and say, well, hey, I am not naturally equipped to compete with, like my buddy Eric, so I'm going to go take supplements. So I'm just saying, when we talked about, you got to be wise in what you allow in your body. Would you not agree that, and what are your purposes? Because you can get into fitness in an unhealthy way, is what I'm saying, and take it to another level. That's beyond, to me, what is good. But we how much time? We got a good 10 minutes here. Let me ask you this. A lot of folks haven't heard your testimony. You battled alcoholism.
Yes.
You in the Marines. That's a tough life. You witnessed a lot of stuff. You served our country overseas, and you've overcome alcoholism, and you gave your heart to Christ about the same time. And if there's someone, there may be someone out there listening that says, I'm feeling worthless, etc. What would be your word of encouragement, Bobby, to a guy out there that says, hey, I'm not feeling very masculine today. I'm not feeling, but how in the world has Bobby turned his life around?
That's it's a very, very good question, and it's actually one that I spend most days trying to answer. And I don't know what I did, and I don't know what Jesus did, because if it was up to me, if I was left to my devices, I was going to drown myself in a bottle. It had a complete hold of me. When I wasn't drinking, it's what I thought about, and I was planning for my next one and trying to modify my schedules to allow for it, and at the expense of myself and everyone around me. And I I had an experience with Jesus where I prayed like I had prayed, 100 times before, and I spent most of my adult life either not believing in God or being angry at him. And, I got to a very, very low point, the lowest point. I thought I was going to lose my family, my house, just my everything, my freedom. And I prayed, and he actually came and visited me in a way that it was completely undeniable. And when he did that, everything got turned upside down. My arguments against him were for him. He completely took away even my desire to drink. I look at it now, and I don't know why I would. And so what I say is don't give up no matter what. This is something that if you leave your heart open for Jesus, he is using this to build you into something to where you're going to be able to use this to help somebody else down the road. Now, there is an other end to this, that with God, it is good. Because that's what he does. He takes the broken, he takes the bad, and he somehow, that we'll never understand, he takes that and he turns it good and useful and productive.
Well, you had something else going for you. You had a wife, Cammie, who was praying for you. She was actually a Christian when you all married. Am I right?
Yes, she was. And, and she was a Christian, and she believed, but it's one of those things that, she's even told me, and she's told me a lot, that, when I started following Jesus and worshiping Jesus instead of worshiping myself, which is what alcoholism and addiction and victimhood mentality is worship of the self, it basically allowed her to become so much more closer. And she has become closer to God and closer to Jesus because I was able to make that change and just radically turn my life around. But, and that really is the thing. It's we're worshiping creatures. We worship something. If it can be, it can be God, it can be yourself, it can be material. I mean, it can be science, it can be whatever it is. We're worshiping creatures. We have to worship something. And, Jesus to me is like the ideal, like it's the top of the chain, the top of the ladder. And, that's where I want to set my aim, knowing that I'm never going to reach that. But that's where I choose to set my aim, because anything other than that is just, honestly, kind of trivial.
Well, let's change. Just got a few minutes left. The debate's going to be tonight. Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, and you being a veteran, a Marine, and knowing what you know about world conflict, and it was in Afghanistan you served, right?
Yes, it was.
And what are you hearing from your veteran friends? Do they have a preference of Trump or Kamala?
Well, out of all my veteran friends, I would say there's only two people that I'll just say have been brainwashed into thinking that Kamala is the best choice to go. There's a lot of reasons, logical, rational reasons why there's no way that woman can get anywhere close to being president. But I'll tell you the personal reason for me is Afghanistan. I remember where I was when I was hearing the things happening at Abbey Gate is when I was landscaping, and I stopped what I was doing and listened all day long. The fact that we fought these people for 20 years, lost brothers, lost friends, and most of us, there's so many people that lost limbs, has PTSD, the broken families, everything, just to hand it back to the same people that we had been fighting. It was surrendered. And that is what is so, I know that, it's national defense, national security, and all that, but that is so deeply personal to me. Even when she was saying, or it was said, that she was the last one in the room when the decision was made.
That doesn't make me feel
it's
better.
Never been addressed.
Yeah.
They say that they haven't even really said that it was a botched escape. They keep trying to blame Trump when Trump had a conditions-based withdrawal plan. That was a complete abandonment of every single person that's fought over there, believing that we were there for a reason.
Well, the big military base that China now occupies that we built, were you ever on that base?
I was on I was in Helmand Province. The one that they own now is so I was on Camp Leatherneck, and the one that they got that huge base, I believe, was Bagram. And yeah, I mean, and it's just, God, when you want to talk about leadership, and even back on the topic of what it is to be a man, a protector, and being masculine, taking out our service members before we took out civilians and our allies and women and children. Like, it goes, these people go against every single thing that America stands for and what made it the greatest country in the entire world that the world has ever seen.
What did you think about the Arlington Cemetery when Trump showed up and Kamala and Biden didn't? But then Kamala tried to pass the rumor that he had an altercation, which ended up being not true, but the media played right along. Why do you think it is that Biden and Harris will not say the names or embrace those 13 fallen?
There's kind of the surface level answer. It means that they would have to acknowledge it, that they would have to acknowledge that it was their fault, and they don't take responsibility for anything. But I really, going into what I think their motive is and where their heart is, I actually just don't think that they care. I think that they have an agenda that is very well tethered to the globalist agenda, and a strong America is not good for the globalist agenda. A strong American masculine man is the worst thing for it. And I think that they have an agenda that they can't actually come out and speak on certain things because it goes against it. And they can't tell us what the agenda is because because nobody would go along with it. So, you're right. When they do something that's obviously bad for them politically and they still go along and do it, then that means that there is something worse that they're hiding from us.
Oh, I agree. And I still can't believe that Biden, he doesn't have to say he was wrong. Just be nice and acknowledge the loss. But anyway, we're about to have to say goodbye here, my friend. But Bobby, can you tell me again, your Ironclad Fitness USA, it's on Instagram if they want to contact you. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. Ironclad Fitness USA. And, you can reach out. And even if it's just to have a conversation, I love, people who give me a call, message me, and, and we get on the phone and we just talk about where you're at. And if you're just looking at, hey, what can I do right now to get started? We'll talk, and that's all it has to be. But it's something we absolutely need a revival of men in this country. And I think that it starts with becoming physically strong, because if you're not physically strong, if you're riddled with chronic diseases and, all this type of stuff, it's so much harder to be mentally strong. And if you're not physically strong and mentally strong, good luck being spiritually strong. And so, it starts with taking care of your body, and then, the temple that houses the other two gifts that God has given us. And, yeah, man, I love it. It's something that I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Well, thanks for calling in. We'll have you back soon, Bobby. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, Macil. Well, it was a blast, man. I really appreciate it.
That's Bobby Parker, former Marine, now trainer, and you can contact him with Ironclad Fitness USA on Instagram. Godly man leading his kids and others in the way. As we're getting ready for the debate tonight, I thought you might want to hear I was a Trump hater. This man of color. See what you think.
I wrote this article about how I used to kind of despise Trump and how I ended up just seeing him for who he is, being just a flawed individual. And
he wrote this article, and he pretty much said, you know, I used to be a Trump hater. I bought into the mantra, etc. And he goes on to explain how he did his own research and came to a different conclusion.
part of that had to do with the good people on both sides lied that was perpetuated by the media. For many years, I was a Democrat. I was someone who would watch the mainstream news and felt like I was being informed. But then I became curious about Donald Trump as I was talking to more and more people about him. And that's when I came across the good people on both sides accusation as being an actual lie or misrepresentation of what he stated. And when I watched in full context where he was basically putting down the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists who showed up with tiki torches, I realized that the media purposefully misframed what he was stating.
And see, that's important. Learning to do your own research. And again, here's a lady addressing a Democrat assembly, and she is a Democrat.
Trying to use black people to find a all you're doing is trying to use black people to find a reason to make some money.
Here is an unbelievable video. This woman should be the head of the Republican Party at this point. It's just a random woman.
X who told us what? That the white liberal is the worst enemy to the black man.
Yes.
And it is coming up in here acting like y'all representing some social justice.
Say that,
but all along,
Say
all
that.
you're doing is trying to use black people
Say
to
that.
find a reason to make some money.
Say
Let me
that.
tell y'all something over there. We're done. The Democratic Party is done.
Abuse the black American.
Gonna come in here and gonna clean it up. Do just like R.F.K. Jr. Just do like that Tulsa lady.
She brought up RFK Jr. This lady went on a rant, and she said, we're coming after your jobs if you don't start making good decisions. So this lady of color, who is a lifelong Democrat, is basically saying she's done, and she's pointed at them and said, you're done. And she's following RFK Jr. to support Donald Trump. And I played you the other gentleman. What is it that's making people change lifelong voting commitments? Even Alan Dershowitz said Sunday he's a lifelong Democrat. He's walking away and becoming an independent. He didn't say he's voting for Trump, but he obviously, I don't think, will be voting for Kamala. So with that said, I encourage each of you to watch the debate tonight. You can watch it on Newsmax. The reason I encourage you to watch it on Newsmax is because they don't do what ABC is going to do. If Donald Trump starts to get the advantage, or they will find ways to either edit out or stuff. I just don't, I wouldn't give the liberals, ABC will still get credit, but I'd watch it if you're a conservative, watch it through Newsmax, or One America News will be carrying it as well, or there's some other conservative sites. Just consider that. Well, I'm about to head out, my friends, and it's been great talking to you. This is Macil Duncan. I'll be back tomorrow for the Macil Duncan Show live from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Like the fleeting fire, the kitchen's as cold as ice.
Gas prices like nothing we've ever seen before, soar up again.
And maybe we're lazy, should get another job or two.
We don't have bank savings.
No one has a 2022.
Inflation with pressures declining. Hang on to the scraps you're earning.
And gone is our pockets money too, you better believe it.
Looking for corners we can
can choose energy or grub, but I won't pay that. No, we can't pay that.
I've got it down, I can't fill up. I start refueling, then give up,
But I just won't pay that. The dog food's 20 times above anything you paid out last month, but we just can't pay.
In old days we paid for salads. The fruit used to fill the bowl. Today it's just cheaper to gorge on
crisps and junk and sausage rolls.
And maybe I'd only have ordered fish and chips for tea.
They're just so much money now. The fried potatoes don't come cheap. Calamities are concerning. The 70s are returning.
And now it seems Putin's gone cuckoo.
You better believe it. And all of the prices have gone up. And you know it's true, the country's wrapped. Watching Dad's pension turn to bone, and the polka piano gets sacked.
Well, the money saving expert's been a prophet of doom so long, so long.
And eBay and auctions aren't enough.
Selling used Playmobil is tough.
Nobody
Wants to buy your stuff, they won't do that. Cuddle up, turn the heating down.
When you put the lights out till we've got solar power, you make them wear an indoor coat.
I can do that.
We can do cancel every membership we've got.
We cozy up with oligarchs in the garden yacht.
What? We shop in places I never go.
I can do that.
Oh, we can do that. I know it's scary for we're spinning around. It's more fun in the fast when we all fall down.
Who knows, inflation might be turning around.
It won't do that.
No, it won't do that.
We can't pay
That was a video someone sent me. It's a family doing a song. It's called All of the Prices Have Gone Up, But We Can't Pay That. It's a little of a parody off the Meatloaf song, and I thought it was interesting. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show today, and I'd like to just thank each and everyone that like and share the show. Tell your friends, and I'm going to close out with the Beach Boys parody about I Wish I Could Leave California. See you tomorrow.